Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 321 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. How is everybody doing this week, this weekend? Had a great time out at Lake Tahoe. We'll get to that shortly. Let's say hi to the boys like we usually do. Producer Mikey Grinelli. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Biz, hope you enjoyed your Aspen trip. 6 days until I see you guys down in Florida. We're still looking for some courses, so if you know any courses in the Jupiter area, hit me up. But boys, I'm excited for another trip. Always get a ton of stuff done. Me and Biz had a nice long call the other night, so I'm ready.
Daytona, here we come.
Yeah, I haven't flown into West Palm Beach in like 35 years, so I'm looking.
Don't even know what that means.
It's the airport.
That's where we're flying
airport. It's just the airport. Yeah.
Oh, you don't just fly into Florida. You just they don't call it.
They just airdrop you right in, Biz.
Yeah, a drone drop just like at the Grove 23.
Actually, the Wit Dog. We'll go to you next. You're pretty much a Florida resident lately, no?
Oh, yeah. I'm just looking for that no state tax. Biz finally convinced me. I'm having a blast down here. I think that the weather everywhere else in the country is kind of a disaster. Needless to say, I mean, like, you see Texas, what's going on? Florida, it's beautiful. I was in Tampa playing in a golf tournament, the Gasparilla. Shout out Paul Messia Golf and Country Club. We can talk about that at the end. Golf talk. Suck on that one. And I was right involved in that game Saturday between Vegas and Colorado. We're going to go into what happened then, but the original view and the original thought I had right when it came on screen was one of the coolest looking rinks I've ever seen. So it's exciting to talk to you guys. There's a million different things we can talk about for the next 2 hours or whatever it may be, but we also have 2 fun interviews. So I appreciate everyone listening. Let's get this thing going.
We're going off the rails 20 times this episode.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, when I said there's a lot to talk about, none of it's hockey, so get used to that.
It'll be
a 40-minute soccer segment for all you pigeons out there who complain and whine to me. I don't like soccer.
It'll be uglier than Bettman going against the Sun, toe-to-toe.
Well, Biz, speaking of off the rails, I mean, I had to put this up top. You did anything but go off the rails. Your first time skiing, you made the video. And I had said, skiing and skating, they're similar. You are a pro athlete, but I was thoroughly impressed your first day on the slopes, I got to say.
Thick horizontal trail.
Hey, take it back. Whit, you said I was on the bunny hills. No word of a lie. I did one black diamond. I went down one of the hills at Snowmass. That was not the video I sent you.
Yeah, you think that thing was legit, like a highway with maybe a little bit of a hill at the bottom going towards the water. Where's Pasha to hop in and just make that thing look a little steep? It was like, I think my likes on my tweet on Twitter might have just 5 times yours. It was like, Jesus, everyone knows you're on a bunny slope.
I couldn't get Pasha because he's actually in the process. You mentioned golf a little bit earlier. We got a Sandbagger coming out this week. It's looking like Thursday.
Week, guys, we're back. Live chat.
We are back on YouTube. Whit's going to be doing the live chat. It's looking like a Thursday night drop, so we're going to do that live thing again.
Thursday.
Yeah. I don't know why I just did that. You got me talking like this. We're going to drop that on Thursday. Whit's going to be in the live chat. I think that I'm able to hop in because I'm signed up to YouTube now, like one of these young bucks. And we got Tyson Nash and Shane Doan. So 3 Coyotes employees. Let's go, baby. Aside from that, though, the skiing guys, listen, I don't get to vacation much because obviously I work, especially during the hockey season, but you're forced to put your phone down and your adrenaline gets going kind of like it did when you were playing. I have now found my top passion. You know how you found golf, Whit? I will be.
Oh, you're that's what you're saying here?
I am starting a Pink Whitney ski team. Yes.
You're all on board.
I'm going to put the Tour de France just on hold for a couple more years here. Pink Whitney ski team. We're going to get the one suits or what do you call them?
The one-piece suits?
The one-piece suits. Yeah.
Stupid
all pink.
Tip steak. But yeah,
you weren't nothing at all.
It was a blast. So the guy who took care of me out there was that Sheldon Wilinski guy. I talked about him. He was the one who he used to play for Alabama. Is it what's the
Alabama Huntsville?
Alabama Huntsville. He played university hockey there. He's a Canadian guy. And then he ended up donating to the ECHL Player Relief Fund just because he's got that connection to once again, I talked about it last podcast, the program that was struggling, and he also helped raise a bunch of money for that. So we connected. He showed us all the cool spots to eat. Aspen is absolutely stunning, and I can't thank him enough for a wonderful trip, him and his family.
So what did you like? Were you surprised at how easy you got it? I mean, because it is similar to skiing. Skating. RA was right. But when you went down, whatever, the green square, whatever the easiest one is first, were you like, oh, I kind of have this, or did it take a while?
I would completely agree with what you told me. Is it's hard to do the buddy hills to get going. The first one was not steep enough. As I went up and got a little bit steeper, then I realized like what edges I need to take.
Yes.
Yeah, he kept saying it's all edges, right? And from being a hockey player, I was in my head trying to say is like, okay, but like which one? At first, I was kind of going a little bit like knees in, like pizza style, and working the inside ones, but in order to go back, like if you want to turn right, I would get on my far right outside edge, and you kind of
you think?
Well, yeah, I know, but wait, I'd never skied
Just
before.
learned.
No, I know.
And
but
keep in mind, towards the end of my career, I couldn't really skate either. So it's been a while here.
Never could.
It's been a while here, but it was great. Thanks for asking, Ra.
And then what about the post scene? Like pretty cool to have drinks right at the bottom. Like that's always a praise. Is it a praise beer?
Après, I think.
Après, like
ski.
Great. I'm guessing Aspen was top notch.
Oh. Yeah, it was great. The Snowmass place that I went to was maybe a little bit more family oriented. I think there's a couple other. Joffrey Lupul was in town there. He was skiing at a different hill. Didn't end up getting to connect with him, but the one that was, I think it was called Base Camp, and it was cool. There was a couple Chiclets fans there. You can grab a couple pops at the bottom. Yeah, I love the entire experience, but the biggest aspect was getting my adrenaline back up. The fresh air, of course, and the fact that you're off the technology for a little bit. You're forced to be anyway.
Yeah, good mental break.
If you don't want to die.
Yeah. Whit mentioned we have two guests coming up a little later. We have Washington defenseman Brenden Dillon. Had a great chat with him. And we also have we also brought on Mark Madden of Pittsburgh radio fame. You guys were very familiar with him back in your playing days there. I had a little Twitter dust up with him back in the day, but we had fun. It was a nice chat. He's certainly an entertainer, so we get that a little bit later. First off, I want to say now that hockey is back, you're going to have to find your shot. And what better way to do that than with Pink Whitney? From January 1st through March 26th, we are giving Chiclets fans a chance to win a custom Pink Whitney shot machine. All you have to do is post a picture of you and your Pink Whitney and use the hashtags, #Pink Whitney, #TakeYourShot, #sweepstakes. Make sure you use all three. We will be picking winners from the U.S. and Canada every other week, so make sure you get creative with your submission. The boys down the men's club were asking me if I could find one of these, Biz. I told them I'd poke around and see what I can do for them.
What are the shot? I'm going to be giving mine away when the competition's over. Ooh. But they're a special edition. We've had some great submissions as far as people sending in creative things. So keep them coming, folks.
And you weren't the only one shredding the on the internet this week. Gritty was snowboarding up a storm. I mean, honestly, that's impressive as hell to do in a mascot costume, especially with a big hula hoop around you. He was absolutely killing it. Of course, Gritty was out in Lake Tahoe where the NHL was this weekend. The NHL outdoors at Lake Tahoe was kind of a last-minute thing that was put together. Of course, the schedule's been effed up. We weren't able to get to Minnesota for the Winter Classic. I thought the NHL took a great initiative here. Let's do something on the fly. These things are usually planned out years in advance. They only had about 2 or 3 months to get it done. And, of course, if the sun come out, like, the enemy of the people, like Mr. Burns and The Simpsons. And, they had an 8-hour delay between the first and second period. And everybody, Big Cat got his jokes in and everybody had fun. But, the second game went off without a hitch. They postponed the start till nighttime. We got the beautiful scenic views that looked like Roger Deakins was directing the show. I thought overall the weekend was a success despite the 8-hour intermission between the first 2 periods.
I think that it was very normal and probably right to be chirping the NHL. I mean, just a crazy look. And then the quote that maybe we could put on a T-shirt from Gary Bettman. But if you look up at the sun, the cloud cover is everywhere but where the sun is. And it did a number on the ice. Yeah, so usually the sun's up there, and then it goes away at some point, and it gets a little cooler, and then it comes back out the next day. But I understand, like, people are going to laugh and make fun of the entire ordeal. But like I said at the beginning, just the visual right away when you saw it, and you knew they'd finish the games, And then you move into the next night. We don't have to get to the Bruins Flyers, but like the sunset at that time, because we didn't get to see that. Once the delay happened, those guys in Vegas, Colorado, they didn't come back till later. Well, we got to see the sunset, some pictures. Grinnelli, I know you tweeted a bunch out as McAvoy scores. Just one of the cooler settings we've seen for an outdoor classic, possibly the best one, the best looking one. So you got to think, I mean, they're never going to move forward when fans are allowed back and say no fans at outdoor classics anymore. But this one time, it worked perfectly. And perfectly is probably not the right word to use there, but visually and overall at the end, it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you had the main event of Gary going against the Sun. I mean,
that's a battle on its own.
Yeah, I know. Like he
the
went.
Sun sees his shoes. They're like, no,
retreat. Going back to Gritty. I mean, he's a coke fiend, deadbeat dad, loser, but he's the McDavid of mascots right now. He is just so versatile. Just when you think it's maybe he's at his peak, he just brings it to another level. So stick taps for Gritty. Yeah, both teams. Petro and McKinnon got interviewed after the game, and they were all so positive about what was going on. So it's like, as shitty as it was and as silly as it was, I mean, all press is good press. Is that fair to say in this circumstance?
I think no press is bad press. Is that it? Fuck.
I don't know. I think I like mine better. I'm going to go back to mine.
There's no such thing as bad press. Boom.
Nice.
How are you?
Yeah, I had a knuckles. But they gave us a little appetizer, and then they came back for 2 periods. It kind of set the stage for the next day. Everyone wondering what's going to happen. Then all of a sudden, the Bruins roll up in these retro tuxedos, and apparently it was Patrice Bergeron's idea. The whole icing, which to me, made it an overall. I love the entire experience. Was Pastrnak coming out post-game and the post-game interview. Now, Grinnelli, can you please roll the audio and just visualize him in these Macho Man Randy Savage shades with just an unbelievable attitude walking out from the dressing room after a big win?
Why are you wearing the glasses now? I assume it's not sunny, or is it just you enjoy having them on?
Well, we were listening Barbie Girl before you guys asked me to do media, so I was kind of dancing with these glasses out in the locker room, and then you guys ruined it, and I had to go answer the question. So I missed the Barbie Girl song, and who knows what's going to be on when I come back. So
to me, the whole social media experience of the whole weekend, which is kind of how I consume a lot of my stuff, it was entertaining, and I think that ultimately you would have to consider that a success. And I mean, for people who hate Gary, they got to see him get knocked out by the Sun. So everybody won.
Also, I said on when I'm part of my take, shout out Big Cat, PFT, those guys. And they asked me about the whole weekend, basically the delay. I'd never had to go through anything like that. And I know we saw delays, Pittsburgh, Washington at one point. I think that was the night Crosby originally got injured when Steckel hit him years back. So there's been issues. But starting the game was the craziest part. But when you bring up McKinnon and Petro and not really complaining, it's like this year's been such a gong show to begin with. And the season's kind of miserable for these guys in a sense. They're on the road. They can't go anywhere. They're in 8 buildings all year, 7 or 8 buildings. Well, this was just something different. So it's certainly weird to take your gear off. Everything needs to dry. Laundry needs to be done. And then you got to get back in. But all they did was just approach it as a restart, like a whole new game. So yeah, it was comedy levels were high. And then nothing beat Petro seeing McKinnon full tilt coming at him and just being like, oh God,
just winding it up.
Oh boy.
Hey, and
did he say? Oh boy.
Oh boy.
And
perfect. That shows. I'm sorry, Biz. That shows you guys think like NHL players are so focused during the game always. No, there's times when you see somebody coming and you're fucked and you actually verbally get it out there.
Yeah, Petro was on his edges like me on the Bunny Hill my first go around there, just like And listen, it's fate. McKinnon got to watch the 1,000th game ceremony for his future teammate, Sidney Crosby. So everybody wins here. I'm just fucking around. Pittsburgh fans were pissed at me for considering that. And we address it later on in the episode with Mark Madden, so just hang tight. But overall, RA, what did you think of the whole thing?
I call this enemy the sun. Fucking Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Yeah. He says those literal fucking words. It's great.
It's basically a coin flip every time you do one of these. Remember, you guys went to the one in Colorado. They had the issue with people driving in and out.
Yeah, now I'm glad you brought that up, Biz. That was much more of a disaster for people who went to the game, and the NHL kind of was able to keep it quiet. That was a clusterfuck. This was a case of the NHL taking a risk. Now, we were in Dallas last year, New Year's Day. We got perfect weather for an outdoor game. It could have just as easily happened down there last year. I think the risk was worth it. Yeah, the NHL is going to have to spend the money and do a lot of hard work. And if it was sunny and 60 all weekend, they had a fucking what do you call it? Dump it. Then you just got 2 more postponed games. You've already had fucking 30 or 40. What are 2 more? I think the risk was well worth the reward.
The comedy also was like the one clip where I think you see one player fall, then the ref fall, then like another player falls. Like me and Biz at camp for the Blues.
That was us at Blues camp. Yep, that's
I think that. Oh, fuck! I wish I tweeted that. I think that it was a success, as weird as that sounds to say. And I just had a blast watching last night's game. The way the sun was set, big time vibes.
My only criticism of this moving forward would be there's enough nice looking cold places where you can do this, where you won't have to worry about the sun and the weather. There are people out on boats in t-shirts, and then there was
Stoner 19.
The Stoner
Gooch,
19
was Gooch one of them?
Oh yeah, David Gooch made Airways. What or not David?
That was
Gooch.
Me, like
Dusty R. Gooch.
Dusty R. Gooch. Dusty R. Whitney. There it is. Middle name Ryan. My first name's actually Dust. I was catching heat online from people that it was just my ears, my eyes, and I was the one actually at the game.
The Stoner 19 on the jet ski with the Red Wing jersey and then the Red Wing flag. Memes posting that Stevie Y doing scouting from Lake Tahoe. Oh my! He's been on fire lately.
And then one of our listeners had a picture of the from inside Joe Louis with Stevie Y's retired number, and they wrote Stoner over there.
He probably hates. Yzerman, like he's a pretty serious guy. He guarantee hates our guts. And he had a nice tribute video to Crosby. Did you guys get to check a lot of that stuff?
I did.
Oh, the God, you want to jump to the Crosby stuff? Yeah, I was able to watch all the pregame stuff. Yeah. No, I just want a couple closing things on Tahoe Biz. I thought it looked great on TV because they didn't have the constraints of a normal stadium. Like there was no, crowd there. There was nothing overhead. So they were able to use all these new cameras and angles and stuff. I mean, basically a lot of the stuff we saw in the Sunday night game, we hadn't really seen a lot of those angles and shit before. So visually, I thought it was pretty good. We got the reverse retros busted out. I tweeted I liked the Vegas one, and everyone from Colorado was fucking crying about it. It's like I didn't say I didn't like the Colorado one. I just said I liked the Vegas one. It was like you can't say you like something and then without people fucking taking it personal these days. Like,
hey, did you see Bednar's jacket? His jacket was a 12 out of 10. I'd pay $2,000 to get that jacket, or one like that with the Coyotes logo would look cool. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll have to sandbag one off the Coyotes.
And did you see when Yarrow Halak went on the rink, he still had the mullet from the 90s fucking warm get-ups they had on. He wore the mullet onto the fucking rink.
I think it was Pete Blackbird who said it looked like a scene at a hot tub time machine or something.
Yeah, there was Saved by the Bell feelings of at least like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah,
and I think Trent Frederick might have heard you calling him out with last episode. He got
call him out.
Whoa! That was Busy Boy here saying that creating a little bit more space. I think the offense is going to now come, and then bingo.
Very, very happy for the guy because, as I said he was changing. The way the Bruins played, like he added that element. The past Bruins that you've seen just pump guys and be willing to fight anyone. But he had to score. Maybe I did technically call him out. Good for him. That was somebody I was rooting for. Bruins, everyone, I think, RA, you were on them. I mean, it seemed like just a guaranteed. Philly has so many guys out with COVID. The Bruins lost 2 in a row. It was a great night to win a bet.
Yeah, it was definitely easy money for sure. And also too, Biz, going back to Pasta for a minute, he was giving the media shit. He's like, you guys made me miss Bobby Girl. I had to do media. Like, they put that Bobby Girl song. He was like dead serious, deadpan. He was obviously kidding, but he's like, I miss Bobby Girl because I had to talk to you people. Like, fucking Bobby Girl. He is a
look at Grinelli's face right now. He's like, we already played the clip.
Yeah, that's the clip we played.
I know. Well, just for the audience, we don't play it on while we're sitting here, so it didn't ring.
No, I hear. Hey, listen, I've made far worse mistakes than that. What was the last thing I was going to chime in there with?
In 2 minutes, Biz is going to be like, "Did we talk about the outdoor game in Tahoe?"
Grinelli. So Grinelli texted the group chat after Pasternak scored his first. He goes, I put a bet in that he's going to get 2 because he strolled in with the Macho Man Randy Savage shades.
Plus 600.
One other note before we get to, actually 2 more notes before we get to Sid Biz. Mike Tirico. This is a guy, I think he's in that Jim Nantz, Al Michaels, Joe Buck tier, where he can call any sport and pretty much do it effortlessly. He was fantastic for a guy who hasn't done hockey a long time. I think he's pretty good at it.
I'm glad you brought that up. Fantastic job. And the fact that him and Edzo had to delay when all that stuff was going on, they crushed it. There was no dead air. And that getting thrown a curveball like that when you're on live TV is an absolute dick punch. Okay. And those guys knocked it out of the park. So tip of the cap.
Yeah. Tirico, I don't know the list. He's pretty much done everything though. I can hear his voice doing pretty much every major sport. So to hop into quick hockey that quickly and make it seem like he's that much of a natural, especially because they had to replace Doc, right? I mean, he had done such a good job for so long. It was like, who's going to come in and do it? But good for him.
And that goes into our next point. Our buddy Chris Johnston was on the air the other night, and he said it looks like ESPN will be one of the league's TV partners when a new deal is signed this offseason. Quote, word is seeping out right now that ESPN has stepped up, and it looks like they will get at least part of this contract. NBC is thought to be the other network that the league's going to air on. So it looks like they're going to have a couple different networks. So, hopefully they'll keep Tirico going forward. And ESPN, obviously they used to have Gary Thorne and Bill Clement years ago. Everybody's clamoring for Gary Thorne. Bill Clement just retired. Gary Thorne just lost his job with the Baltimore Orioles network. So he's available. If you could have Tirico on one, Gary Thorne on the other, that'd be great. But either way, I know people have their issues with ESPN and hockey because the big thing is they weren't in bed together. They weren't business partners. So ESPN didn't pimp their product as much like they do with the NFL and NBA. If they're in bed together with a contract, then yeah, you're going to see a lot more NHL on SportsCenter, a lot more highlights, and ideally get some more fans. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah,
bring back the puck tracer.
That was Fox.
Fox Tracks.
Our boy Buchigras, I actually had to get on him, and he gave it right back to me on Twitter. I said, you better get that highlight in tonight of the pass. Who made that dish? One of the sickest.
Huberdeau. That was the Huberdeau pass.
Oh, my God. If you didn't see this Huberdeau dish, and it was number 1 play on SportsCenter. So hockey being on ESPN, I don't care what you say, is huge. You need that. Bucci basically already offered me a color job commentating. I said, no, Bucci, thank you so much. I got Chiclets. I got the golf. I'm going to stick with that. But, it's just once we see them on a major network, it's only going to make it more popular. I'm convinced, especially how good the game is right now. The game's healthy. Everything's going great. So ESPN does really help the NHL.
It's the year of the spinorama right now. Everybody's doing the spinoramas. We just saw Alex Tuck do it in the winter, the outdoor game. Patrick Kane, he's been doing it for years, but he had a nice sick one the other night. And how about it wasn't a spinorama, but that goal by Pettersson last night.
Oh.
The one where he batted it. His back was to the net. He batted it between his legs. Top cheese. How's your mama? The Polish Prince is back, baby.
And Van still lost that game. Lost. They were winning all game.
Tied it late. But yeah, going back to ESPN, it's built-in marketing. I mean, every time you go in a barbershop or a bar or restaurant, ESPN's always on the TV. So if those highlights are playing, man, people, they just got to see hockey. Then they fall in love with it. So also, too, I sent that old article out from like 93. The TV deal the NHL had back in the 91-92 season was worth $5.5 million total. And it was only with Sport Channel.
Okay, so I wasn't as floored or blown away as you were. Like what were the deals then for the NBA in 91? $5 million seems
was at least 10 times more with the NBA. 10 if not 20 times more. Yeah. I mean, and Sports Channel was a tiny channel too.
RA, have you ever heard this story of the NBA? And there's 2 guys who ended up selling half of their pro league to the NBA, but part of the contract was they would always keep a certain percentage of TV rights. And these guys, it's one of the best business deals in sports history.
I think it's the St. Louis Hawks. I believe you're talking about. It's either the Hawks or there's a St. Louis-based NBA team. Yeah, I'm familiar with that story. They held on to a small percentage of the TV rights and ended up getting a huge windfall years later, multi-millions of dollars. Yeah, crazy story. So I always hire a lawyer to look over those contracts.
Yeah.
The other note, Biz, you already teased it. Sid played in his 1,000th game. Yeah. Glad you're not in the Penguins this weekend. He became the 350th NHLer to hit 1,000 games played. They did a really nice pregame presentation. He got a little misty-eyed during the ceremony there. The team gave him a nice Rolex. I don't know if it was as nice as Grinelli's, but a painting. He got the silver stick. It was pretty cool. The whole team came out in jerseys with 87, and they all tied their skates in unison before the game like Sid does. Of course, he went out, got himself 2 assists. Go to you first. You are a longtime teammate of the kid.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think he was just getting to 1,000. I mean, I don't know. I think, Grinelli, you sent us, or there was a tweet of how many games he's actually missed. But not only is it seem like he's been in the league for so long that he would have reached 1,000 sooner, but you also realize and think back to the games he did miss. There was a time like you didn't know if Sid was going to be good, be healthy, and you didn't know what type of player he'd be able to be. He'd missed so much time. And of course, now looking back, it was all, I'm not going to say overblown by any means, because there were certainly scary times for him as a player and as a person. But what he's done since and the questions that arose then just fell so flat. I mean, he won 2 more Stanley Cups. He's been as dominant as ever. And I think that when you look back on this guy, and I say he's top 5 player of all time, and you look at his points per game, it sits up right, I think, in the top 5. If not that, definitely the top 10. And the way he's gone about it is just like there's nothing there. I mean, there's people who don't like Crosby. It's fans of other teams. There's never a Penguins fan that's ever said a bad word about the guy. So I think the only people who do dislike him are just jealous that he's lit up their favorite club over the years. And I think that, like, doing the things off the ice that he's done so quietly, you never hear, he doesn't want things that he does for other people to be made public. You hear that about a lot of athletes, but for somebody like him who's super private and into, like, keeping things private, he's not looking to get every news, every piece of info that he has out there. He's just like really happy with just being the best possible player he can be. He's always been that way, the best possible teammate and like a true leader. So, I mean, you talk about like a discussion about the top players. His name's always going to come to a forefront, and part of it is the way that he has approached the game, and like people just all look up to him. You saw the video that the Penguins made. I mean, you got guys, superstars around the league, Kane, others that are just like, yeah, we've always looked up to him. So to hear every single person, all your peers speak that highly about you, it was a cool thing to see 1,000 come to a head. He's not done yet, not by any means, but still, I thought it would have been sooner. So it's great to finally have happened.
And how about he's the only or first Penguin to reach 1,000 games with the organization.
Crazy.
No one had ever done that before. I forgot that Mario was even shorter than that. So that Mike Comito sent me over a bunch of like crazy stats about Sid. He's the one who's got that Hockey 365 book. Like just some of the things. Youngest player to score 100 points in a single season. Crosby was also first rookie to record 100 points and rack up. I think you were around for this. 100 penalty minutes. Like his first year, he was getting dimed up, wasn't he?
Oh, he was getting teed up by refs all the time. He chirped refs, hated them. I think he's kind of relaxed on that.
More stat guy business here from Mike Comito here. Crosby was youngest player to win the Art Ross. He won his first in 2007 with 120 points, 19 years old that season. Crosby was second youngest player to win Hart. He won his first in 2007, 19 years old. Only player to win it younger was Wayne Gretzky. He's got 11 hat tricks, 2 6-point games, one against Philly December 13th, 2006, another against the Islanders on January 19th, 2010. I mean, he kept sending me over this when Crosby recorded his 500th career assist on October 18, 2014. He did it in just 554 games, becoming the 6th fastest player to reach the milestone. The only players racked up 500 assists faster were Gretzky, Lemieux, Stastny, Bobby Orr, and Peter Forsberg. So like it's just like the shit that he's done throughout his career is just like it's like Madden's going to say later on he's top 5 all time.
That 120-point season was his second year. It was also my second year. That was my biggest year. I had 59 points, and I said it. I probably had 10 assists on the bench when the goal was scored. That year, I've never seen a player like that. I know McDavid's done some crazy things, but I think just witnessing it in person and practice in every game, it was nuts. I remember the 6-point game against Philly. It was just like there were certain nights you could not stop him. Still the same. But then that year, he just ran away with with everything in that league. It was just like second year. First year he came on hot. Second year it was like, oh my God, this is even a different level.
Granelli, what's up?
That tweet you were referencing earlier, it was injuries, a lockout. It was from Brendan Burke. It said injuries, a lockout, and a pandemic have cost him 240 games so far, which is roughly 306 points at his 1.27 point per game average.
We also had that prop too. If Sid scores and the Pens win 10-1, we got some nice play in the Barstool Sports book. Unfortunately, he couldn't tuck one for the people who backed him.
I think, right?
Yeah, he did get 2 helpers, but he didn't get the goal. But thanks everyone for playing along with the sports book. We've been trying to have bring a little fun to there. I know not everybody hockey gambles, so we're trying to branch out.
The adjusted odds are nice.
Yeah, they absolutely. And also too, we get to this with Mark. We're going to get to very shortly. Sid also did reiterate his desire to stay in Pittsburgh. Going back to the Darren Dreger stuff. Penn's inside scoop had his quote, nothing's changed. Trade rumors are definitely a new subject I've had to deal with and hear a little bit about. I love playing here. This is where I love to play for the rest of my career. He made no bones about it. Yeah. So let's bring in Mark Madden. He had a lot more to bring onto the subject. But first off, I want to mention that times are tough and worrying about your student loan payments don't make things any easier. That's where refinancing with Earnest could help. Earnest offers low-rate student loan refinancing, and you can check your rate risk-free in just 2 minutes. By refinancing, you can reduce your loan term, save money, or combine multiple loans into one simple monthly payment. Isn't it time you stop feeling overwhelmed by your student debt? Earnest is offering our listeners a $100 cash bonus. Refinance your student debt at earnest.com/chiclets. Terms and conditions apply. Again, now, Earnest is giving our listeners a $100 bonus if you refinance your student loans at earnest.com/chiclets. Terms and conditions will apply. Once again, $100 cash bonus when you visit earnest.com/chiclets to refinance. That's CHICLETS. Visit earnest.com for more details. Earnest student loan refinancing made by Earnest Operations, LLC, NMLS number 1204917, California Financing Law License number 6054788, 303 2nd Street, Suite 401N, San Francisco, California, 94107. Visit earnest.com/licenses for a full list of licenses. Once again, go to earnest.com/chiclets for more details. All right, gang, and now we're going to send it over to Mark Madden.
We are now pleased to be joined by a longtime buddy of myself and Paul Bissonet's, a staple on the Pittsburgh sports media landscape, a host on 105.9 The X from 3 to 6 p.m. Monday through Fridays, a columnist with the Tribune. He used to work for the World Championship Wrestling, WCW, as a color commentator. Mark Madden, Juju Smith-Schuster's #1 fan. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, not for much longer, Biz and Whit and RA. Great to join everybody here, Mike. Like I've said to a million hockey players, and I like hockey players, I was here before you arrived. I'll be here after you're gone. Same applies to Juju Smith-Schuster. Can't wait till he leaves. All mouth, all branding, all hat, no cattle.
All right. Well, I love that you're getting right into it. This is how he does things. And for folks wondering at home who maybe aren't familiar with Mark's work, a big hockey fan. I'll say I don't necessarily know if you're a huge sports fan. I know you love soccer and Liverpool, but a hockey fan. And when I met you, you were nice enough to have me on your show. I was a guy who I think you enjoyed having on, maybe because I was able to give a quote here and there. But how long have you actually been in the Pittsburgh market, and what was the beginning to you having your own radio show?
Well, you and Biz both, great talkers, and that's why you're doing what you're doing currently with Barstool. It's more important to have good talkers on a show than it is to have great players. Great players who are boring slow the show down. There are guys who elevate above that. Not that Sid's boring. I get a lot out of him, as do you guys. But on some interviews, Sid just spits his cliches and just isn't what you would hope he would be. But I lived in Pittsburgh my whole life. I am a weather-beaten 60 years old now. And I wrote for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette for years, covering high school sports, being like the backup hockey writer to Dave Molinari, who you guys are very familiar with. But then at 36, I just was so used to being, second fiddle at the Post-Gazette. I quit. I took a job with a publication called Penguins Report, which was founded by Tom McMillan, who Biz and Whit both know. And I stayed there for 2 years, but in the interim, I got a job doing radio just as a fill-in. And honestly, I don't want to blow my own horn, but toot, toot. It took off like overnight, and I've been doing it now for 25 glorious years, and I wasn't sure that would be my calling when I started, but in retrospect, it's what I'm best at by far. And I was at ESPN 1250 for a long time, got fired there in the middle of the 2008 Stanley Cup Finals, might I add, and then was at the X with Clear Channel and iHeartMedia a year later, and that's where I've been ever since. And honestly, and I think every town has a guy like this, I'm the guy who doesn't care if people like him or not, at least of all the athletes. And you were right, Whit, before. I love hockey. I love soccer. Everything else can go kick rocks. I just am not a big fan of much else. I watch it because I have to. I love pro wrestling too, obviously, because I worked in it. But football, I mean, why would anybody like football? Why would anybody like football players?
There's a lot of people who do.
Well, a lot of people do, but a lot of that's gambling and a lot of that's fantasy league too. I'd love to see what kind of ratings and attendance football would get without gambling and fantasy league, especially on TV. I just don't like the players. I don't like when, again, Juju Smith-Schuster is all about branding and he, couldn't make a catch in a big game to save his life. I don't like when Chase Claypool tells the Browns they suck after the Browns kick their ass in a playoff game. That's just not how sports is in my book. And if that makes me sound old and crotchety, so be it. That's how I came in, and that's how I'm going out.
Branding himself and not making plays. That sounds like my career, Mark.
Well, it's worked better for some than others, Biz, but we worked with what we got, right?
I want to know how you got fired during the playoffs that year.
See, this is something you guys should be familiar with. A lot of New Englanders here. I made a joke at the expense of the late Senator Ted Kennedy, and Disney owned ESPN, owned my station, so they got rid of me. But that was okay because the reason they got rid of me, and nobody ever used the punchline of the joke, by the way. They only had part of the joke. The punchline was, I wonder if the Kopechne's will send him a get well card. Because Ted Kennedy got away with what he got away with because he's
murder,
a Kennedy.
Pretty much.
Okay? So, but the funny part about that is Disney had just bought ESPN. And they didn't like that they were paying me too much, quite honestly, because they tried to get me to take a pay cut when they came in on a guaranteed contract, there was no hope of that happening. So they were looking for a way to get rid of me, and for better or worse, actually for better, because I got a better job, I gave them one. But the funny part is when they called my lawyer about terminating me after the fact, they had already told me, they said, well, we'll give him whatever, 3 months severance and that's it. And my lawyer goes, you haven't read the contract. They assumed it was a standard ESPN contract that they bought. I had a contract negotiated by my lawyer with the company, and there had to be 3 warnings in my file before they fired me, and there were none. So they were on the hook to pay me for 3 more years if I wanted. And I sat out 8 months till I went to iHeart, but they were on the hook, and they didn't even bother to read their own contract before they tried to get rid of me. And we offered to go back. But they weren't having any of that at that point. So, but I got a catchphrase out of it for my show. I always use when something is written in stone, I always say, like my lawyer said with great gravitas to Disney, I think if you read his contract, you will find it's ironclad. And that was that. I waited 8 months, got hooked up with the X, and that's great because it's the Penguins flagship. And that's where I belong. With the Penguins flagship.
You're used to controversy now. I think kind of like the Avery situation, we got to sweep this one under the rug, RA. What happened with you guys back in 2017?
Yeah, I was a dust up. Like I said before the show, a Twitter fight in 2017 might as well have been the Civil War because it was so long ago, especially the way the last year's gone. I honestly forgot what it was about initially. I know Mark was talking about Barstool and kind of, having some fun with the facts. And I don't know, I just looked at it as entertainment. Obviously, if I had a real issue, I wouldn't have wanted him on. So, it was so long ago, I have no real issue with it these days.
I got in a Twitter fight one time with Rebby Hardy, who's Matt Hardy, the wrestler's wife, right? And then we ran into each other at some kind of, independent show when Matt was between WWE and wherever. And I expected Rebby to take my head off. And she said, don't worry about it. It's only Twitter. Yeah. And that's like a slogan for me now. It's only Twitter. Who cares? Twitter is the most disposable of mediums the world little notes nor long remembers. I think you guys do a good job. I was impressed. I kind of became a bit of a convert, the Sid interview. Because you guys got so much out of Sid, which ain't easy to do. And I pride myself on doing the same with him. You guys, did what I do. You don't treat him like he's made of glass, like a lot of people who deal with Sid do. So I thought that was good stuff. The only thing that always stuck in my craw about podcasting in general was I paid my dues. I went through, a river of shit. I was like Tim Robbins in Shawshank Redemption before I came out the other side of my career. And now guys get to, put up some microphones and declare themselves podcasters.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying, where it's like you did pay your dues, but people can say they're podcasters, but until you get listeners, you're nothing.
No question.
But the
I
thing
will say, though, I still think I would bet you guys are horribly underpaid. You need to form a union.
Mark, I take offense to you saying that Twitter's disposable. That's where I get all my trade information. Like
it's better than Darren Dreger.
And going back,
we got to get into that.
Yeah,
hold on though. Hold on. Before we get into current Pittsburgh Penguins ongoings, I need to have you tell the boys and all the listeners the story of Lemieux and the face-off goal, because when you told me this my rookie year, I remember laughing out loud.
Well, Mario came back, and I get along, well with Mario. He's meant as much to my career and my show as anybody, him and Sid. And Mario came back, and he kept trying to score right off the draw, like whack it in off the draw, right? And I went on my show, and I said, well, because I don't know if he still does, but he listened then, certainly. And I said, well, we finally found something the greatest player of all time can't do. He's trying to score right off the draw, and he can't even come close.
Oh, Jesus. And
so I see him like a game later, and he goes, you really don't think I can do it, do you? And I go, honestly, no, you're not coming close, big man. And he goes, do you want to bet on it? And I go, what? Like, I'm joking, $66? He goes, no, 6,600. And I'm like, at that point, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it. So I go, okay. So we agreed it would go to whatever charity the winner picked. Although I could have used the money, not him so much. But boy, I'll tell you one thing about him. He loves to win a bet. No question. Ask Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan came to the Mario Lemieux Celebrity Golf Invitational a couple times. And I don't know the exact amount, but Mario beat him for some money. No question about that. Although, to be fair, Mario never confirmed nor denied, so I'm as bad as Darren Dreger on that one.
He's like the evil Bob McKenzie.
So we made the bet, and, he scores the goal, and he turns the press box and waves to me. And I said afterwards, I go, listen, and there was a big newspaper article about it in the Post-Gazette, and I talked about it, obviously, on my show. And I go, listen, to be acknowledged immediately after a goal by the greatest hockey player of all time, I'll pay $6,600 for that anytime, every time. So that was tremendous. But the little sidebar to that is the game before, he whacked the puck out of the air on the draw and hit it off the crossbar into the stands. And as he went back in for the faceoff, he skated around the circle and glared up at the press box. And like Bob Airy said on
He's like, it's coming, Mark. It's coming.
Bob Airy said, I think we know who that's for.
It's like Robert Duvall in The Natural.
Like Mario's you guys know Biz. He's a great guy.
Oh yeah.
And he's so much fun to deal with. Here's a good Mario story. Guns N' Roses came to Pittsburgh, and it was the faux version with Axl and all the rentals, right? And so Axl wears a Lemieux shirt for the encore. And the next day at the game, the media goes, Mario, what do you think of Axl Rose wearing a Lemieux shirt for the encore last night for GNR? And he goes, well, there's always a big pleasure and honor when these rock stars, and blah, 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 right? And I'm in the scrum, and I go, hey, what's your favorite Guns N' Roses song? And he looks at me, and he's like shaking his head just imperceptibly. I go, what's your favorite Guns N' Roses song? And he like cracks up and goes, I don't know. And then after the media clears, I go, you don't know any Guns N' Roses songs? Because he listens to Frank Sinatra and Celine Dion. Okay? And he goes, no, I don't. And I go, how can you not know Welcome to the Jungle? It was the national anthem in 1987. And he just didn't know it.
Jeez.
That's just a man that just sticks to what he does know and listens to the tunes he wants. So we Darren Dreger's name comes up immediately, and that's because he's had a lot of different reporting in terms of the future of the Penguins. You talk about Crosby, Malkin, Letang, the big names, what will happen, where will this organization go? And he's kind of been pretty adamant in terms of there's a possibility that Crosby could be moving on. I don't think he's come out and said it for sure, but you seem to think the exact opposite and he's not going anywhere. Tell us your thoughts and how you're kind of approaching the future of this team.
Well, first off, Sid said as much the other day on the occasion of his 1000th game that he plans to finish his career in Pittsburgh. Here's what Darren Dreger does. Darren Dreger puts himself in the shoes of the Colorado GM and the Pittsburgh GM and says, what would make sense for me to do? He basically makes a trade with himself and then presents it as a legit possibility without talking to certainly nobody in Pittsburgh, certainly not to Sid's management, certainly not to Sid. He basically says, here's what I would like to see happen. Here's what makes sense for me to see happen, and that presents it as possibility. And before you know it, it's got legs and it's everywhere. But it's utter bullshit. You know, it's not that he made it up. He just took what he wants to see and said, you know, I could see this happening. I think Pittsburgh management needs to sit down with Sid at the end of the year and have a serious talk about where this goes. And he says it with such gravitas that people buy into it. When he said it the first time, Burke and Hextall had been in their jobs for a week. You think the first thing they thought about was, well, we better sit down with Sid and have a serious conversation about his career.
Let's make a splash.
He just janked it out of thin air. And it spread like wildfire. Adrian Dater, who writes for some fanboy website in Denver, he had a Crosby Avalanche 87 jersey mocked up and put it on his website.
That was for me. I actually custom ordered that, by the way.
Well, they are available, I think, at NHL.com. But it's just crazy how stuff like that has no basis in fact, at least certainly not now, spreads. And Sid's an Yzerman guy, and he's a Lemieux guy. And those guys finished their careers with one team. And I got to be honest, as long as you've won, that's the way to do it. That's how you have a jersey. That's how you have a legacy. You Boston guys tell me, do you really look at Ray Bourque the same when he pimped himself out to Colorado to win a Stanley Cup he didn't really earn? Because that's what happened. He was in Boston for 21 years and couldn't win. Same like Jumbo Joe. Jumbo Joe's never won. When you're in the league that long and never win, that's not coincidence. You're part of a reason for that. And as somebody who saw Mario Lemieux spin Ray Bourque into the ice like a drill bit back in the 91 and 92 conference finals, I can attest from what I see. The video does not lie.
Well, all right. Well, tell me this. What do you think that they should do? What is the future? Do they need to trade Malkin then? Like, how do you approach the end of these guys' contracts and possible careers? Like,
you've been all over Malkin on Twitter lately.
Well, how could I not be? He has 3 goals in 16 games.
That was a career. That was a career for me.
Well, but I lowered my expectations for you, Biz. What they should have done was trade Malkin in 2018 after they lost to Washington in the second round when Kuznetsov scored in overtime. And that's no knock on Malkin, but if you're going to reload, that's the time to do it. He was 31. He just had 90 some odd points. He's going to get huge return then. Now you're not going to get any return for him. Now, I'm not counting the guy out. I think he may well, snap to and get going again, but he needs to do it because Gino's at a crossroads. He has 1 year left in his deal. If he wants extended here and at a decent price too, he's got to play better. I mean, you want to, preserve legacies, but you want to move forward too. And one thing the Gino fans don't want to get, Gino ain't Sid. Sid's a top 5 player of all time. Gino might be top 50. Sid has meant as much to the franchise, close anyway, as Mario. Gino's the next tier down with Yager. Gino just doesn't get the same deference, to my mind, that Sid does. Sid is going to be here forever. And anyway, when's Sid going to slack off? Gino, the effort, I don't see it. Sid's always a goal line to goal line Tasmanian devil. Gino's still got to earn it. He got to earn that next contract. And especially with Hextall and Burke, who have no allegiance to him from past glories. With Rutherford, maybe. With Hextall and Burke, no. And people think I'm anti-Gino because I think he's not Sid. But he's just not Sid.
I'm glad you mentioned Jim Rutherford because, going back to the Draga stuff. Now, Draga, I don't think he has a reputation as a rumor monger. I think he's getting this from somewhere. But when you put that in combination with Jim Rutherford just up and leaving out of nowhere, very abrupt, it does look to the outside perspective that something is afoot in Pittsburgh in the front office there.
No, I don't think so. First off, Drager is a rumor monger. He is. He just, when you say Sid might get traded to Colorado with no basis in fact, that defines being a rumor monger. Whatever the plural is.
That's where I got my Johnny Gaudreau information.
From who? Dreger?
I think Dreger ended up reporting it because I think Eric Francis, is that the guy's name from Calgary RA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my understanding Rutherford had a series of disagreements with upper management, the level between the owners and him that he just got tired of. And I think Jim had cabin fever too. How this affected his, feeling about his job, I do not know. But he hadn't left his house in like a year because of COVID. So that was an odd circumstance. And I'm not sure and I'm, relatively close to the situation. I'm not sure I know yet exactly what happened. But in a way, it might turn out better for the Penguins, RA, because I think Jim would have been loath to trade a Malkin, to make a move that has to be done to get us pointed in the right direction. Whereas, like I said, Hextall and Burke have no such allegiance, but the timing of it was strange. And in a way, I feel bad for Hexy and Burke because they're basically serving as their own interim GM for a year, because you can't come in mid-season and get your structure truly implemented. And you can't hire guys that you want to hire to work underneath you because a lot of them probably aren't available. But I think, and don't get me wrong, Jim Rutherford was a godsend to this franchise. I thought the window had closed before Pittsburgh won 2 more cups. But now I think the window is closed, and I think it might be better to have fresh eyes to try to dig the club's way out.
I had one question about wrestling. What's your favorite wrestling era before I forget it? I know you're
the one where they paid me to be on TV. That is by far my favorite era of wrestling. No, probably Mid-Atlantic in the 80s with the Four Horsemen, Jim Crockett Promotions.
Oh, the old
TBS. That was my favorite to watch for sure. But I loved working in it. It was the time of my life. I just had so much fun. And I'm friends with Ric Flair to this day. I've known him for even since predating when I worked in WCW. But like I said, the time of my life, I don't think I could do it now. The travel was brutal, but I would never trade those memories for anything. And most important, it paid for my house. Period. Wrestling paid for my house.
Was it the Lemieux era that sucked you into the hockey world? Is that what made you such a fan?
No. I've been going since I was 6 years old.
Deck hockey, right? Weren't you a deck hockey guy?
Yeah, but that's not indigenous to why I got into hockey. My late mother was a big hockey fan. She went to see the Pittsburgh Hornets play back in the Tim Horton era when he was, playing there before he went to Toronto and became a Hall of Famer. And when I was born, she loved hockey so much, she took me to a game in 67, 68, and 68, 69, and 69, 70 when I was, 6, 7, 8 years old. So I could say I went every year. And then after that, we had season tickets for a long time. And I started covering the Penguins for UPI when I was 20 years old. So I've been involved one way or the other for a long time. It's just always been my passion. In a football town, I was the hockey guy and still am.
So kind of a 2-part question. First, maybe not even a question, the first part, a statement that you do 15 hours a week and you do it alone. And it's like you see all these radio shows that have partners. And granted, you do interviews and take calls here and there, but you're by yourself. So for Mark Madden to be by himself, it's no big deal. But explain to me what you would say on your show describing Lemieux as the greatest of all time. How does he out-Trump Gretzky? How does he out-Trump Orr? What is your definition there?
I'm not sure he does. And by the way, doing radio by yourself is the best way to become a star.
Yeah, but it's hard as fuck.
Oh, no question. I'll tell you a quick story. Steve Austin started doing his podcast, and we happened to talk before he started doing it. And I said to him, Steve, I go, you need to prepare, really thoroughly. And I found out later he didn't really buy into it because he ran out of stuff 10 or 15 minutes in. I got that secondhand. Maybe that's not true. And certainly he does a great podcast. Why? Because he's Steve Austin, for God's sakes. But no, I don't necessarily think Lemieux's better than Gretzky and Orr. That's just my opinion. I think no matter how you rank the top 3, Lemieux, Gretzky, Orr, I don't think you can be wrong. But I think leaving any one of those out of the top 3 should be a criminal offense subject to flogging. I just don't think that, whether it's Sid, because my top 5 in order are Lemieux or Gretzky, Sid, Gordie Howe. And you could make an argument for Rocket Richard over Gordie Howe, but I never saw Rocket Richard, so it's tough for me to do that. But any order you put Lemieux or and Gretzky in, I have no problem. I just rank Lemieux first because I saw him play, and I never saw anything like that. Gretzky kind of like cerebraled you to death. Lemieux was like, okay, here I come, and you can't do anything about it. And Bobby Orr just changed the game, absolutely changed the game, and just was, I mean, I was like 10, 12 years old when he was in his prime, and to witness that, even as a Penguin fan, I mean, the Bruins used to come to the arena when I was a kid and beat Pittsburgh to death. And Bobby Orr was the biggest part of it. Just to watch the way he played, he was so different than anybody else.
Since Sid just has his 1000th game celebration, I know you watched it pretty closely. Like, what are some of your fondest memories of Sid, like through his come up when he first got there, and maybe some of your interactions with him?
Well, he's always great. You know, I always hesitate, and I say this on my show. Whenever I say somebody's like my friend that I work with in the media, like a hockey player, I always say you'd have to ask them. You know, you just never know from the media standpoint because there's a line there that's difficult to cross. But, you know, I consider Sid a friend, you know, at any rate. And like I said, I don't treat him like he's made of glass. I mess with them. Like, you know, I was berating him one time in the locker room just in fun after a game a few years back. And Jake Gensel, I think it was Jake, I'm not 100% sure, was like looking at me with his eyes wide open like, I can't believe this fat bastard's talking to Sidney Crosby that way. You know, I think it was Jake, but Sid's just a great guy to work with, to get along with. His family's great. You know, I thought he was going to propose to his girlfriend during the 1,000 game ceremony, but then I thought, no, that's definitely not Sid. Tanger, I DM'd Tanger about this. Nah, that's not Sid. Maybe she should have proposed to him. I don't know. But here's a Sid story, Whit. I don't know if you remember this. Probably not, because it's just a minor laugh. But when Sid was a kid, he was like, I don't want to say easily embarrassed, but like there were certain things he didn't like to talk about. So one time I'm talking to Whit, because Whit's, you know, a lascivious, you know, bastard like I am. Brianna Banks was in town, the porn star. Do you remember this, Whit? Sid and Whit and I are talking about Brianna Banks, the porn star, who is, you know, quite the looker, and she's cool too. And so Sid's like kind of, you know, in on the conversation. And Whit goes, hey, Sid, what do you think of Brianna Banks? And Sid goes, wouldn't that be like throwing a hot dog down a hallway? And I go right away, Sid, she uses more than one hallway. and Sid looked like he wanted to laugh and throw up at the same time. And that was the end of the conversation. That was great.
Speaking of top fives, where does she rank in your top five, Mark?
See, I'm not the pornophile people think. I've kind of aged out for one thing.
Well, you used to be retweeting.
Back in the day, you were retweeting.
You were retweeting
hustler images,
yeah.
dude.
I said I've aged out. I was a younger man doing that.
Viagra,
not much younger,
that's what Viagra's for.
I don't know. My top three are probably in order: Riley Steele, Alexis Ford, Brianna Banks. All veterans of the Mark Madden show, might I add. Whit, I can see you nodding in agreement.
I was like, I'm on the same show as these girls. This should be an opener at some point.
So do you like study game tape, Mark? Like, is it like, are you like
Biz, please, you're trying to make me into this 30-old man. I keep telling you I've aged out.
He's aged out, Biz.
What's that?
He's aged out. I'm saying, I'm backing you up.
He's in the analytic porn community.
Nobody
now.
puts Madden in a porn corner, Biz.
Emphasis on the first two syllables, Biz. Now, here's a story from the Whit days, though, and it's from when I got fired. I'm underneath the arena in the concourse during the 2008 final, and this involves a favorite of the Spittin Chiclets show, by the way. And I'm talking to Big Dan, Whit's dad, who's the greatest guy, and Whit's brothers are in town. And when they came to town, they hit Pittsburgh like an invading army. It was, they didn't so much visit as they occupied.
I don't even know if my brothers were there. My buddies were there this time. I think I know which one you're telling.
I'm pretty sure at least one of your brothers. Yeah, a bunch of Whitney.
Yeah, Colin was there. You're right.
So I'm talking to Big Dan, and Keith Yandel's there. Okay, and it's like before the game, and he's literally blackout drunk. He's blackout drunk, and he's slumped in an aluminum folding chair in front of the parents and friends' room, right? Blacked out. He's like, you know how like when you get put under, like for laser surgery, you're in twilight? Yandel was in self-imposed twilight. So Witt's brothers or his friends or whoever, they get the Penguins patrol girls, these like girls who were dressed in like, you know, faux Penguin Junies, and they would roam through the arena. And they get the Penguins girls to paint Yandel's face black and gold. And they cover him with like these spray-on Penguins decals, like his forearms, his face. He looks like this fanboy maniac who's passed out in a chair. And after they're done, Yandel's there, you know, by himself, clear view, nobody near him, so you can't mistake, you know, what shape he's in or who he is and what he looks like. He's Arizona's property at the time. The entire Arizona hockey ops department, led by Wayne Gretzky, comes marching by. And as they walk by, they're moving, but their eyes stay riveted to Yandel. They're like,
is that a prospect?
Yeah, and I look at, you know, right, he's like one of their top prospects. I look at Big Dan, and he looks at me and goes, that's not good. But yet,
boy, were they wrong.
Hey, this was the same Cup final that Foley, another one of my buddies who's been brought up many times in this show, after the game, Lidstrom's walking by, like just going to the bus, and Foley gets in his face, just goes boo, and Lidstrom's like, "What the fuck?" It was like my friends couldn't even go to the wives' room anymore. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a classic Yandel moment, but here we are all these years later. He's still in the league.
Never missed a fucking game, that animal.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that was
toughened him up. I guess
that was right around the time. That could have been the summer that he like changed everything, like training and his whole like mindset to being a real pro. He thanks Shane Doan a lot. Maybe it was Doner that next year who taught him you can't get blacked out at a Cup final event when you're at the game.
Well, yeah, he hadn't changed right then and there, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I just got fired, but Yandel's worse off than me right now.
Hey, so I always thought it was I'm not going to say honorable, but it made sense that you would go after players, whether it was hockey, football. I mean, guys that didn't play well, you'd go at them on your show. That's what you do. You still do. But then you'd be in the locker room. And I think a lot of times it's changed where nowadays people just kind of throw shots and they're not there in front of the people to face them. And had you ever, in all your kind of runs with different teams, had a guy come up to you and go at you after hearing what you said about him?
Barrasso all the time. And I didn't even have to say anything about Barrasso. He just hated the media. Barrasso swung his stick at my head once. Before I worked for the X, I did work for the Penguins game night show on DVE when they were on DVE, another station here in Pittsburgh. And I would do the post-game interviews in the runway afterwards. So one time I'm waiting after the game to do the interview, and Barrasso walks by, and the butt end of his stick just misses my head. And I figured it was an accident. You know, he was trying to, like, get by. I mean, as big a jerk as he was, and I'm sure still is, I didn't think he would swing his stick at my head. So later on, and this is how Tommy was liked by the superstar players on the team because they deferred to him. Everybody below a certain line hated him, as evidenced by this, because somebody ratted him out. Another Penguin came up to me a little bit later and said, I can say who it is now. It was Tyler Wright, who later worked in, you know, hockey management. And he goes, hey, did Tommy just miss you with his stick? And I go, yeah, why? He goes, it wasn't an accident. Watch yourself. Because I guess he was laughing about it, you know, inside. One time, and I thought you were there for this, Whit. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. I used to talk like how George Laraque was just useless as a player, which he was. Absolutely useless as a player. He was just this heavyweight fighter who wasn't even getting meaningful fights. He would fight the other guys heavyweight that each tipped their helmet to each other. He was a show unto himself, but he didn't help the team, and he thought he could play, and he couldn't. So one time at practice, he put a tape measure around my waist from behind trying to measure how fat I was. And I told him, like, to F off, and, you know, and he, like, his eyes got big, and I didn't back down. I just don't back down. But full disclosure, though, like, I ripped Juju Smith-Schuster to shreds, as you know. I've never met him. So, you know, what I do with hockey, I do go in the room. I just don't like football enough to even go to the games. So I do give those guys a hard time. I never have to deal with them, but I'd be willing to. That would mean going to football, and I ain't going to football.
Any funny Jagger stories that stick out to you?
He was great to work with.
Yeah.
I mean,
people love him. I mean, it's just he's like Manny Ramirez. Like some stories, you're just like, oh my god.
Yags would have like great one-liners too. Like when he was in Russia for the KHL in Siberia. And by the way, that was when the Yags confirmed he was a true mercenary. He gets $9 million tax-free to go play in Siberia. I mean, the old Soviet Empire sent people to Siberia to punish them. Yags went there for $9 million. So he comes back and he's playing for Philadelphia. And you guys know Staggy, of course, Paul Steigerwald, right? And everybody goes in to talk to Yags. And he looks at Staggy and goes, "You're still alive?" And everybody just cracked up. My biggest Jogger memory of him playing was in 99 playoffs. Pittsburgh was the 8th seed, barely made it in. And that was a time pre-cap where Pittsburgh needed to make the playoffs and go as far as they could to survive financially. So we're playing Jersey. They're the number 1 seed in the first round. And Yags didn't play a few games. He had a groin problem. He plays game 6, scores the tie goal late, sets up the winner to Straka. Then we win game 7, and he played and had a contribution. He could barely walk afterwards. He had to be helped, in and out of the dressing room afterwards. You could see when he was in his shorts, you could see the bruise on his leg, and it was grotesque. So whenever people said, well, Yags floats sometimes, well, he didn't then. He really gave everything at a time when the Penguins really needed it. And one thing about Yags I kind of feel bad about. We were talking before about guys who switch teams. Yags has played for 9 NHL teams and, the team in the KHL, right? I feel bad because he doesn't really have a jersey. He spent his longest time and his most legendary time here. But when he comes back, he gets booed all the time. And that's wrong. That shouldn't happen, but it does. And, he really isn't embraced anywhere because he moved all over the place because, again, he is a mercenary. And I always felt that kind of detracted from Gretzky, too. As great as Gretzky is, he played for 5 different teams. And I don't think that reflects as well as it could or should.
Is the booing maybe out of deference to Mario more than it is anti-Yaga?
No, I don't think so, because Yags and Mario got along fine. I think Yags will get his number retired at some point if he agrees to come back to do it. I think that's part of the deal, that he needs to come back for it to happen.
The only guy who you got to beg for him to come to your actual own jersey retirement, please, Yags, just come on the ice for a couple minutes.
Yeah, but don't forget he has to come all the way over from Czech, where he's still playing, which is tremendous.
Yeah. Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on. This has been a blast. And for people outside of Pittsburgh, you can check this guy out online, check him out on Twitter. And let me say this before we finish. Liverpool fucking stinks. You chirp me. You know what? You chirp me when I pick Chelsea. They stink right now.
We still might finish ahead of you. When Van Dijk and Gomez got hurt, the 2 center defenders, maybe I should have lowered expectations. But honestly, here's how I am as a fan. Penguins might struggle for a while, in this era. I'm so grateful for what I've seen. Liverpool just won England last year, Europe the year before. I'm so grateful for what I've seen. And I got to be honest, I think that makes me different than most sports fans. I got to tell one story on Biz, too, before we go. I've told a couple of wit stories. Biz totally blew me off in Vegas one time.
Well, he's probably balls deep.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was probably looking for Cialis
That's exactly right. I can tell you what happened. I ran into Biz at Caesar's Palace, and he had these 5 girls with him who were all super hot. And so we just happened to see each other, and he got rid of me as quickly as possible. And Biz, I get it. What are you going to say? Hey, girls, here's my old fat friend with bad teeth. Let's hang out with him. So I get it, because I've never helped anybody in that regard. I'm the worst wingman ever, but it did happen. I'm just saying.
I tried to sell it. I said 5-on-2, no back checkers, and it wouldn't fly. I got one question for you. If you
by the way, I'm not bald. That's the one thing I've going for me.
If you had to compare Sid to one Hall of Fame wrestler, who would you compare him to?
Hall of Fame wrestler.
Or even any wrestler at that regard, but you have to say Hall of Fame because it's Sid.
Dynamite Kid. Workaholic, unmatched in-ring performer, puts himself at risk to make plays for the team. Sid's Dynamite Kid, or as they call him in Japan, Dynamite Kido.
All right. I love it.
All right, Mark. Hey,
Mark.
Thank you for joining us. And keep on, dude. Keep crushing it, man.
Are you eating during the show? You picked that up from me, didn't you?
Exactly. Well, what do you think? I'm just not going to actually do what you do. You sort of taught me this whole game, bro.
Thank you, guys. Very enjoyable. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, Mark. Have a good day, brother.
Thank you very much to Mark Madden. I believe he calls himself the Super Genius. 105.9 The X, 3 to 6 in Pittsburgh, every afternoon, Monday through Friday. So also, I think that we need to mention when he was fired and he talked about, he made a joke about Ted Kennedy. The joke was, I always wish that Ted Kennedy would live long enough to be assassinated. So I think he had a line after that. He told, I think nowadays those jokes don't fly. I don't think Ted Kennedy was a great person, but still had to give you some, I guess, backstory to what the actual line was. Yeah, perspective.
A little context.
A little context. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. I'm also here. I want to talk to you guys about G4. I don't know if you listeners have heard of the brand G4. These guys have the best golf shoes. There's some golf shoes out there that have all the fancy bells and whistles, but look like a grandpa's shoe. You don't want those. Then there are the other shoes that look sweet, but they do nothing for your game. You don't get any traction. You may look cool, but you need to actually use the spikes sometimes in your golf shoes. Then there's G4. They have fused technology with a sleek, modern design to make some incredible golf shoes. Check out their site, g4.com/chiclets. To give you 10% off your first order, and I'm telling you, you're going to love them. Biz is all about these things. There's a golf shoe for everyone. If you want the classic look, you get the Gallivanters. You want the waterproof, you get the waterproof leather. It's an amazing cleat design on the bottom that gives you insane traction on the course with no need to replace annoying spikes. They also have the MG 4.1. It's a crossover shoe. You can golf in it, but it also is a great workout shoe if you want to head to the gym first. They're an everyday shoe if you want to go grab a drink wearing the G4s. It has nubs on the footbed so you can still get an all-day massage while wearing them. They're made with a knit material, so it's super breathable and comfortable. And the MG4 Plus offers the most for your golf game. It's sleek, athletic-looking, stability, comfort, flexibility, 3D molded external heel cap. You got that right, for lateral support. And it's all waterproof. So no matter what kind of statement you're trying to make with your look, G4 can hook you up. Check out g4.com/chiclets for 10% off your first order.
I mean, everything you just said is accurate because I wore them in both the Sandbaggers coming up, and they gave me a pair of the fancy ones and then the runner ones. Yep. I like the runner ones because they're a little bit more like, everyday-ish and comfortable. Ray Whitney was wearing them in the Sandbagger too. So other than that, I got to kind of defend Drager a little bit because, well, not defend him. I drank the Kool-Aid, so I was just as guilty as he was. So
I'm sure Darren would have things to say. Maybe he'd want to come on. He does have his own podcast with Ray Ferraro, Ray and Dregs. But I don't know if he's just making them up. Madden seems to think he is, but he could have sources. It's like very hard to just say who's actually correct in this.
Okay. Well, I still thought there was a possibility. That's why I jumped on the bandwagon, and I guess I got to.
Gaudreau's a fat boy.
Yeah, and we weren't here to refute Mark either. I mean, he has his opinions. Like he has. I wasn't here to stick up for Ray Bork. If Ray wrote, what he said about Bork, hey, that's his opinion. I don't agree with it, but he's definitely an entertainer.
What did he say? He screwed him into the ice.
Well, he thinks anyone who ever hasn't played for the same team their entire career, who's a legend, isn't a legend. Yeah,
I mean, the Bruins were a mess at the time. I mean, I think anybody would have done the same thing.
But he's the super genius.
All right, Biz, we're going to send it over to the West Division and finish up that. We already talked about Vegas and Colorado, obviously. Defenseman Colton Parayko in St. Louis. We had talked about him recently. He had looked a little bit out of sorts. Well, he was pulled from the lineup. He does have a back injury he's been struggling through. That's why he hasn't been the same dominant player we've been used to over the years. So I hate to pick on a guy when he's hurt.
It makes sense a little bit. You were questioning kind of how he was moving, Biz. You watched all those Blues games in a row, right?
He looked like he'd lost the step. I'm like, what's going on here? So are they saying that it was something that was lingering that he had to sit out for?
Well, the plan is rest right now. They don't know if they're going to need surgery for it, so they're going to rest him, and hopefully that works. And if not,
it had to be a
yeah. He just hasn't looked like himself. But like, I love him as a player. He's a beast. And when they won that cup, he was just as big a piece as anyone. Man, he was a horse back there.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Moving right along here, Biz, hate to bring this up, but there was a huge article in The Athletic about the Arizona Coyotes. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it here on Spittin Chiclets. It was a pretty damning article. I think you'd say it was about the organization, the way the Coyotes are running things. Katie Strang, who is an outstanding reporter. Her credibility is really not in question anywhere. She's been doing this for a long time. There was a big story about unpaid bills, the team not making payroll, not giving per diems. There was even one story that they didn't want to approve pizza for an overtime game in the bubble. Katie Strang did give the Coyotes an option to speak to her. They declined. And then when they declined, they actually released their own statement afterwards. And just from a personal perspective, I thought it was a bad look. I mean, she offered them to talk. They didn't want to. And then they kind of gave a statement kind of attacking. They said she was harassing them. And then they listed a bunch of the owners' accomplishments over the years, which is kind of irrelevant to the lecture at hand. Biz, I know it's uncomfortable probably for you to talk about, but it was just, again, from my perspective, nothing to do with you. It was just a tough look for a team trying to get its footing. And, lashing out the media, it might work for other people, but it doesn't work within the world of hockey when you don't like what they report. It was just a tough look. And again, it's Katie Strang. Her reputation speaks for itself when it comes to hockey journalism.
I mean, like, guys, my experience in the organization has always been like extremely positive, like as a player, and then transferring into like the media side of it. It's just like not my world. I'm not in the office. Like I don't know. Like I can only speak on my experience. Obviously, it sucks that it's kind of like another like, taking one off the chin again. Hasn't necessarily been the biggest hot streak going here, but I mean, I don't know if, learn from it. Let's get better. Let's fucking, let's go here. Fuck, come on.
Yeah. The Yotes are just black eye after black eye. It's like, you got to get things figured out. What?
Well, I was going to say, which kind of sucks because like, I don't know what the expectations were coming to the season, but the boys have been playing hard and they've been fun to watch, and they've had like, I think one bad game. And then in a couple games, they've had like a few bad periods, but other than that, man, they got a great first line going right now. Things are going pretty good. And I think the fan base is happy. They're starting to see growth. So, I mean, I hope from an outside perspective, it doesn't reflect on what's going on inside the locker room. Cause I think Talkett's doing a good thing and sticking on.
I was kind of going to say that too. It seems like and even when Chaika was there, it was issues with they got in trouble. They lost the draft picks for whatever that thing was with draft prospects. And it's always kind of away from the team. It's the players and the coaches are showing up doing their job. It's this other news. It's like, figure it out.
Yeah.
The ownership's different than the guys on the bench.
Yep.
I don't think anyone's holding their feet to the fire, and they shouldn't.
But I also haven't had a conversation with them asking like what's going on here. Like I don't talk to them. So I can't just like, she obviously wrote what she wrote because she did some digging and talked to some people who were very unhappy with their circumstance here. I also wasn't in the room for that. So right. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
And the last statement, the last sentence of the statement did from the owner said, as we will be exploring all of our legal options in response to the Athletic, we will not have any further comments, which is kind of funny after 10 paragraphs of comments. And I don't know, anytime when they're threatening legal options like that, we'll keep an eye on it, but I doubt anything will come to fruition there because, unless it's libel and proven to be libel, then you don't have a case to stand.
I'll say this. I probably wouldn't have wrote a letter, like a public letter back.
Especially after when you refuse comment and then you come out over the top, it's just kind of like, he who doth protest too much.
Hold on. Give me 10 minutes to give you a comment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can move on.
All right. Yeah, we can move on. Dude, the LA Kings, a 4-0 week. This is a team nobody really had much to say good about. I know it's early, but 17 points. They're right in the mix out in the West Division. We've been talking about Florida, Bobrovsky having a tough year, and Chris Driedger coming out of nowhere. Well, how about in California? Cal Peterson, 243 goals against, 926 save percentage. He's kind of basically, not stolen it completely yet, but Jonathan Quick, he's basically stealing the crease from him. You guys been catching much of the Kings. I know they're on kind of late for us.
Quickie's been playing a little bit better lately. He had a shutout, I think 3 games ago. He played solid against the Coyotes because they just played back against the Yotes. Yotes lost in a shootout the first game. And I'll say this, they have a very young decor. Doughty's playing solid. He's putting up some points. Anze Kopitar looks great. Dustin Brown is leading their team in scoring. I think he's got 8 tucks now. The old guys are contributing and they care, and these younger guys are adding a little bit of spunk. The one young guy who was coming in as the first rounder, who I play with, Adrian Kempe, I feel like he's really starting to find his groove now. There was a lot of
23 too.
He's only 23, right? And he was highly touted, and he was a consistent NHLer in the sense of like he was up, and he would disappear for 4 or 5 games, and then okay, there's the flashes of brilliance. He's starting to really put it together and get comfortable at the NHL level. LA, I underestimated them coming in, and you mentioned their goalie Cal Peterson. I think he went to Notre Dame, ended up going to the Ontario Reign with my old coach, Mike Stuthers. And I noticed that they were like shutting teams out quite a bit. And I called him and asked him about this kid. He said, he's just like a throwback. Just he's very aggressive. He's to me, he plays very like outside of his net. He always like really challenges a shooter. And I love watching him play. So as far as the Coyotes are concerned, if we can shift it over there.
Quickly though, I think you misspoke. You meant Dustin Brown had the most goals. He's got 8 goals.
Did I say points?
You said scoring, but whatever. I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
And then Iafallo too. That's a kid, 4-year college player at Duluth, and you've seen him get better and better. He's somewhat near a point per game. So yeah, they're not going to be an easy team to play against, right? When you have that many young guys, that many players looking to prove themselves. And then with still like Kopitar and Doughty, it is cool to see, because those runs they went on when they won the cups, they were just so dominant. You could tell it, the fans, that's a hockey market when they're going.
Just to go back about that series, like they played St. Louis 7 in a row, and throughout the course of those 7 games, you could tell, because Garland's been playing so well and getting a lot of attention, he started to take a lot of abuse. And when they ended up playing LA, it kind of continued. Dustin Brown took a few shots at him. Hey, that's hockey, and some teams play the bully, and I like old school hockey. They need to find a way to try to protect him. Like, he's taking far too much abuse. He ended up taking a pretty nasty cross check to the neck. What's hard in today's NHL, especially with the team on the cusp of playoffs, right? They're going to be fighting for that 4th spot, is you can't be going out there and trying, taking selfish penalties because one of your guys got stuck or hit. You can't afford losing a game 3-2 where that goal was on the power play. So you're between a bit of a rock and a hard place as maybe a bottom 6 aggressor type player. But for me, the Coyotes need to fucking address that, because if this goes another, 30 games, even if they do make playoffs, he's going to be so banged up, he won't even have any juice left. So I don't know. And RA, I mean, I'll throw it to you because you're a Bees fan. Like, they've never had an issue with that.
I would say maybe a year or 2 ago, they were having an issue where they weren't responding when Tuukka got hit a couple times. They had Chara in the lineup, but he wasn't necessarily doing that role anymore. I mean, he's 42 years old. He shouldn't have to be throwing hands. They didn't have Kevin Miller, but I think they have that thump back now. Kevin Miller, he's not playing every game. But, yeah, I don't think you're going to be pushing around too many Bruins goalies or superstars this year, not paying the price. And Garland's lighting it up, man. He's the team leading scorer, and he is a little guy. And you do need some muscle there, Biz, and that element isn't going to go away. So hopefully the Coyotes clean it up. I was just talking about the Kings. I want to talk about their neighbors to the south a little bit. Anaheim, they placed Adam Henrique on waivers. This was a bit of a surprise. The 31-year-old led the team in scoring last year with 26 goals and 17 assists in 71 games. He still has 3 more years left at $5.825 million. He's got 3 goals and 1 assist in 16 games this year. The Ducks had a bad week. They had an 0-3 week. They went from 4th in the division down to last. You got to think maybe with that, GM Bob Murray is kind of greasing the skids for a move here. And honestly, Henrique, I mean, it's not like he lost his fastball. I think a change of scenery could be perfect for this kid if somebody is willing to take on this deal.
I may be incorrect. I think it's Henrique. I like Henrique Iglesias that you're giving him.
Same.
Let's go with Henrique, but
I will be your hero, baby.
And who
I
was
will
in that?
take
Kornikova.
away your pain.
Oh, he was with Kornikova. So
what's the other one?
Oh yeah, you know what? Like, listen, that guy, he was sick on the Devils, and then that trade happened, and he scored that all-time great goal against Vatanen. We've talked about that. I was surprised to see it. I know his numbers are down, but Anaheim's just in that process of kind of retooling, trying to rebuild without being really bad. It's an exciting time for them tonight with our boy Trevor Zegras making his
debut in Arizona.
I saw Monday night against the Coyotes. Let's see how that goes down. But Henrique Iglesias, it sucks to get that news, right? It doesn't matter how long you play in the league. Doesn't matter who you are. I mean, to be put on waivers and have that type of money coming forward, it is a little embarrassing. It sucks to say, but hopefully he figures out what's going on and ends up still playing a role somewhere if it's not Anaheim.
Well, worst case Ontario, he would go to would he not go to San Diego? I mean, come on, Whale's vagina, not a bad spot to end up.
No escrow.
And no escrow, exactly. In a year like this year, whew.
I'll blame my pronunciation on Henri Rashad because I'm so used to saying Henri, Pocket Rocket Rashad. All right, we got to move it over to the North Division. Always something going on here. Toronto, oops, to get to jump on your Britney Spears from last week. Oops, they did it again. They blew a 5-1 lead, forward 5-1 lead, lost 6-5 in OT after Dadonov scored in a breakaway. I mean, they were the laughing stock of the week, but of course they rattled off 3 wins after. They had a 7-point week, still at the top of the NHL, 30 points. Austin Matthews on an absolute fucking tear. He had more points last week than the following players had all season. This is from Luke Fox Jukebox. More points last week than Malkin, Hall, Line and Anders Lee, Matthew Tkachuk, Evander Kane, Phil Kessel, David Pastrnak before last night. Mikko Rantanen, Claude Giroux, and Dillon Larkin have all had in this whole season. He's got 12 goals off of Carey Price. That's the most off any goalie. 174 goals in 299 games, already the most scored by any U.S.-born player in his first 300 games. I mean, we stroke him every week, but if a guy keeps scoring like this, what else are we going to do, Biz?
It's fucked. It's just he like can single-handedly win them games. And it's sometimes like you watch these highlights and it looks so effortless too. Isn't it like weird how effortless it looks, Whit? Like if you compare, like McDavid's like buzzing around all the ice and all of a sudden you just see like this little sniper, like, or big sniper, I should say, like he just kind of gets it, pulls it in. It's like next thing you know, it's shelf and everybody's like, oh fuck, there was a goal. Like half the guys on the ice are still like playing it out.
Yeah, he is. It's like must watch right now. And I have this feeling, I know it's so early, but he could chase 50 and 50. So he's at 18 goals through 18 games, and it seems like it's impossible, but I don't know, man. Like right now, he's so, when you talk about like looking easy and like slow motion, he just comes in the zone with so much ease. And then right around the net, he's so good at getting the shot off. He needs like no time whatsoever to just flick the wrist. On his backhand, he's good. And Marner, who's playing sick, I mean, he's like so good at setting them up. And the Thornton quote, I don't have the exact quote on me, but it was great. It was like, I think that Austin Matthews deserves to literally be in the running for every major trophy right now in the NHL. It's like Selke, Hard, it doesn't matter because he's making that much of a difference every single night. And I think that you've seen Toronto look like a team. Muzzin's out again, which sucks. I think he broke a bone in his face or something, but that team is like built to actually make some noises. Your Thornton, Simmons, it's like this team could actually get it done. And when you have Matthews, who's never looked this good, even his 4-goal first game, it didn't matter in his career. It's like this is reaching this other level of greatness. And so to have him in his prime, Toronto looks for real. I don't care how weak people say the North Division is.
I mean, and not to take any focus away from Marner because he's been lights out too. But you mentioned Thornton, like from him and Spezza, they're two older guys who are making $750. I think Thornton's got 9 points in 9 games, and Spezza isn't far off a point per game pace either. So they're looking great right now. And it was funny. He goes back-to-back 4-point games, and I would say at that point, and I know McDavid's McDavid, but you're probably thinking for what he's doing for his team and the fact they're in first place, he's probably at the top of the conversation for MVP.
Yeah.
Well, after the second 4-point game, I think McDavid checks the box score before he goes out, and he went off, man. 3 goals, 2 assists. The one goal where he just, pickpockets the guy, goes down, does a little chop suey, beats the puck into a square so it could slide it in a little easier, looks at where he's going to pass it to, and it's off his stick in no time. Markstrom couldn't even react, and we get a little highlight reel for our Spittin Chiclets page.
The crazy thing about that goal, McDavid grabs it, he kicks it to himself right near the red line, and then he's probably the only guy in the world who you're like, did he mean to put that puck on edge? Like, because it's like impossible. Any goalie will tell you when a puck is on its edge and being shot, goalies don't know how fast it's coming out. They don't know where it's going. It's a legit knuckleball. And it's like, I don't think he did, but that's one guy who probably could pull that off if he wanted. Tanev was playing the 2-on-1 perfect. He was like taking away the pass, just basically praying the Petro, oh God, when you see somebody like that coming down on you.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
What's that song? Feeling like a track star. Oh, Holy by Justin Bieber. Great song.
I can be your
Unreal
hero,
song.
baby.
Ryder's favorite song. So yeah, it was just McDavid seeing, oh, well, somebody's making some noise over there. And now Edmonton sits in second in the North. So there's a couple teams that are really hurting right now. We'll get into the Calgary Flames, but that division up top looks fun still. We've been saying it.
Before we get off Toronto, I do want to mention we have the Battle of Ontario tour shirts. We've been coming out with these as sort of a Grateful Dead theme style. One last note on Toronto before we move over to Calgary, Whit. Alex Galchenyuk, who had been traded last week, well, he never left Canada. He stayed there, and then Carolina shipped him to Toronto, so he never had to quarantine anywhere. They sent him to Toronto for Igor Korshkov and local kid David Warsofsky. So basically, some organizational depth. They had no intention of keeping Galchenyuk, so and he can add another team to his resume. And yeah, Calgary, they had a 1-3 week. They've lost 3 in a row. Matthew Tkachuk did an interview. He said, quote, he was hearing from friends at home. He said, quote, more fans than media are all over me than previous years. They loved me once. I just got to stop playing better. Personally, I'll give up scoring a goal for the rest of the year for a Stanley Cup. Confidence is a big part of me, and I obviously still got that. I think this fans kind of maybe turned on him a bit. This is a what have you done for me lately business, not just for the front office, but for fans also. You know that.
Yes, I know that as well as anyone in terms of being just hated by pretty much every fan base I played for. And I think that the tough thing about this was he addressed this talking on the media and then they got dusted 7-1 by Edmonton. So then he had to come back in after and say that was basically the lowest moment we've had since I got here. And people are looking at the entire core in Calgary. And it's there's Backlund, there's Giordano, Monahan, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk, and like they go on a trip. I think they go play Ottawa 3 times and Toronto twice this week in this upcoming few days. It's like that's kind of make or break for where they're sitting right now. You have to wonder like what's going on because this year they got Markstrom, they brought Tanev on the back end, who both looked good. They've kind of held up their end of the bargain, and the rest of the team, I'm not going to say struggled, right? Gaudreau's been good. There's moments when this team looks in sync, but then at other times there's like not much life there. They've had 4 coaches in the last 6 years, and it seems to be that like it's always the same questions no matter who's behind the bench. So Matthew Tkachuk right now is getting it, and it really goes back to like I would never expect fans to like feel bad for anyone that is playing pro sports. Never at all. Like they make millions of dollars. They do what they dreamed of doing for the most part growing up, but when you talk about being a pro athlete, like there's so many things that go into it that you don't think about when you're a young kid, just like praying and hoping you make it. And it's like when you're not playing well and you're making money, you got to be ready to deal with legit pressure. And I know everyone at work has pressure and they have pressure making way less money. So somebody that every day has to get their job done right to put food on their family's table is like laughing at me. But for people who have been really good like Matthew Tkachuk and so many stars out there their entire lives, once you start getting heat and once you start feeling the other side, the hatred that can kind of spew out of ridiculous fans' mouths and especially online, you understand like, all right, this is way harder than I thought it was, or way harder than it was when I came in and things were a breeze. So you really learn a lot about people's character, I think, when they first get their dose of fans telling them that they suck, right? And we'll see how Matthew Tkachuk responds. I think that he's a hell of a player with many, many years ahead of him of being a great player in the NHL. But right now it's probably his first real example or time when he's
probably the first time he's at like while making money or really in his entire career being handed that much criticism. Now, as far as his production's concerned, I don't think his numbers are terrible. I haven't watched them enough to.
Well, he's on pace for like less than 50 points if it was an 82-game season. I know for him, like he had 77 points, and then he dropped down, whatever, 65-ish. So I think offensively, he's not himself.
Okay. Well, that's fair because I haven't watched enough to be able to criticize his game, but I just think overall as a whole, that team right now is struggling. Like they've apologized to their goaltenders for hanging them out to dry. And like you said, it's like right now, I'm very interested to see on this road trip how they respond. Hey, against Ottawa, it's one thing. Let's see what they can do against Toronto.
But it's saying that like Ottawa, they beat Montreal, or they beat Montreal the other night in overtime.
Right.
RA.
Yes.
Oh, so Ottawa isn't necessarily easy, but they got to win games. Calgary. RA. You think Tkachuk meant to pass it off the D-man?
I 100% did.
Brady.
I actually,
Brady.
I think
yeah.
I don't know. There's a guy.
There's a guy far side.
There's a righty that it would have been right on his tape.
I watched the GIF 100 times, and it's funny. I don't usually. I DM'd him a couple times over the years. I actually DM'd him nice dish, and he's like, "Hey, thanks." And I goes, "No, I meant to yourself," because he might have thought I meant his assist early in the game. I watched it 20 times, and I don't think that guy was low enough. I don't think he sauced it too hard or put too much mustard on it. It looked to me like he was almost waiting for it to come off. I could be wrong. Maybe we'll get some clarification.
We got to talk. We got to get some truth serum before we ask him this. I think he'll tell us
truth acillin. RA, I'll say this. He was so close to the skate when he released it, and he was so ready for it when it came back. I'll be willing to give it. Like, I'll say, all right, I could see where you're coming from. At first, though, I agreed with Whit. Though the guy was backdoor tickling one of the banners in the ceiling, just waiting to eat that thing.
Watch the angle of the pass, and like I said, it didn't seem like it had enough mustard or the right angle to go, because the whoever was might have been passing to it. They didn't look like they were moving. They were stationary. So either way, it was a hell of a fucking goal the kid scored. And you brought up the Canadiens. They had a tough week. 0-1-1, 5-3 loss to Toronto. Then the overtime loss to Ottawa. They dropped down to fourth. And since starting the season off 5-0-2, the Habs have gone 4-5-0, and all five of those losses have come at the Bell Center, where Montreal is now 3-5-0 as opposed to 6-0-2 on the road, and 11-19-6 since November 16th of 2019. In that span, the only team with a worse home record is the Detroit Red Wings than Montreal. Obviously, it's a huge factor. If anybody misses a crowd, it's probably that building, especially on a Saturday night. But I don't know, man. Gary Price, he's struggling a bit right now. Jake Allen's actually been the better goaltender of the two thus far.
What?
I didn't know. I couldn't tell who was.
Hey, I'm giving you a pass like Brady.
Well, you're giving me a pass. I mean, I haven't heard from all these Canadiens fans that were ripping me, going nuts on me right when the season started, and they looked unbeatable. Now that they've kind of come back to life, I did immediately come out and say that they were a way better team than I gave them credit for in the little season preview we did. But they don't look like the world beaters that they came out of the gates looking like. I'll say that.
And another thing, too, is like they got some young guys who, it's their first time being that guy. Suzuki had a bit of a tough stretch there. I think he had maybe 1 assist in 5 games. I think he ended up finding the back of the net last game, though. So, listen, we're going to see guys go through these types of waves. So I would imagine in the next little stretch here, they're going to bank some wins.
Biz, we were just talking about old school protection, and we saw a good example of it with the Vancouver Canucks. Derek Forbort, he grabbed the hold of Nils Hoglander late Friday night. Hoglander had hit him earlier. He thought it was a little bit high. Forbort did. I thought Forbort might have been leaning a little to it. I don't think it was necessarily an intentional high hit, but he did go after Hoglander at the end of the game, led to a huge pig pile. And then the next game, which was Sunday night, he fought Zac McEwen. So I think this is a good example of what you're talking about. Vancouver not letting one of their young stars or potential stars getting fucked with, and we're going to protect the kid.
Yeah, so here's what I fucking hate, though. All these Vancouver Canucks fans storm to Forbert's Instagram and just start slinging mud at him in the comment section. These people are lunatics, man. 100% worst fan base as far as the bottom feeders, Vancouver Canucks. He thought he hit him high earlier. Then towards the end of the game, he took another little bit of a run at him. Hey, all good for Hoglander to play his game and do his thing. So
he gets in your face.
So Forbort retaliates. Yeah, I get that he's a smaller guy, but he was still willing to handle his own business the next game against what's his name? Sorry,
McEwen.
Zac McEwen.
McEwen. So it's just like fucking rights. I love that. I love it all. Other than the fact that these degenerates got to go harass Forbort in the comment. By the way, my teammate when we win the Calder Cup, not a big deal.
Hoglander though, piss and vinegar.
Yeah,
you've seen the skill level, but he's also right in the mix. I read something quickly, like Travis Green loves the guy, so he'll get his nose in there. And Forbort did a good job, and I think that the scrum at the end was a great symbol for Vancouver, though, because things haven't gone well, but there was 5 guys immediately in there.
Big time.
Immediately, and that's what it's all about. And I'm not going to say there's teams out there that wouldn't do that. I'm not going to name certain teams' names that I don't think would necessarily respond, but Vancouver did a hell of a job there.
Hey, and if Hoglander's going to run around and be that guy, which I love those types of players. We talk about it all the time. Well, you love playing with them. You hate playing against them. But at some point, someone's going to attack him.
They're going to dummy him.
Yeah, they're going to try to grab him. And the fact that the guys are like, hey, go play your game and we're going to back you up. That's a great feeling for Hoglander.
Yeah, that means he must be popular with the fellas.
Yep.
And Forbort's quote was, it wasn't like it was a dirty hit or anything. I was just kind of pissed off, and I gave him a couple cross checks. So it wasn't like he was,
very honest,
crying a foul or anything. It was just hockey. Good old hockey, baby.
Take a Winnipeg, I'll fucking get you. I'll stick you in the face.
Winnipeg had a 2-1 week. They're sitting third in the in the division right now. They've been playing some pretty solid hockey. Pierre-Luc Dubois made his presence known Sunday night. 2 big goals, including the overtime game winner. Also had an assist. Whit, did you catch any of that game? He was a pretty big force for them Sunday.
I did. Van had the lead for a lot of that game, and Dubois really a little bit of a coming out party for him there. I think it's been hard with all the time he had to rest and quarantine when he got up there, and that was powerful statement by him. I mean, to get that winner in OT puts Winnipeg right in the top 4, who look like they should be able to get the playoff spot this year, especially as he plays better and better, as he gets more comfortable with that system and Maurice and his teammates. But I still think that there's probably more he can give. I would say he's not comfortable saying he's played his best yet, but a game like that could just get anyone rolling.
I wasn't really going to comment anything. I think you nailed it. I was just actually, you know what I was thinking of? We got to start the episode with "Dog Days Are Over" for Sid. That's what I was just thinking. Is that
the
fair?
Song that he forced Joey to play,
or Barbie Girl because of Pasternak? See, this is the tough spot of these are the hardest decisions we have to make behind the scenes, folks.
Tough decisions,
and it's up to Grinelli. Don't let us down.
I was going to say we. I was going to say we.
What do you mean? Oh yeah. Well, you decide all of it. This one, I'm a Barbie girl. Do you know that one, Whit?
It's such a bad song.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Ow, 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 ow.
Definitely fucking 16 hits of fucking Molly listen to that shit. Did I say that? Edmonton, 3-1 week. They jumped into second place. Mike Smith has really shored up their net. I know it's a small sample size, but in 5 games started, he's got 4 wins, a 1.83 goals against, a shutout, 940 save percentage. If he can kind of recapture that form he had a few years back, Edmonton, they're going to be a tough out. Also, Connor McDavid, congrats to him. He got his 500th NHL point. He was the 8th quickest to get to that number, and he tied Sid Crosby. He did it in his 369th game. A little bit of symmetry there.
NHL scripted. Fucking Wizard of Oz, Gary Bettman going against the sun. That nut.
I kill this enemy, the sun. All right, we're going to get to the East and Central after. We'll be getting to Brenden, Dillon shortly. But first, I want to talk to you about Bruise. Bruise is redefining what it means to have a perfect smile, because a healthy smile is a perfect smile. And when it comes to a toothbrush, you should be going digital and not analog, because dentists recommend more effective electric brushes. That's why you ought to be using a Bruise like we do. It has 6 unique modes to customize your brushing experience, a 4-week battery life, a magnetic charging stand, and a compact travel case. It has a great subscription program. You never forget to change your brush head again, because Bruise ships you new replacement heads every 6 months, so you're never stuck using a worn-down brush head. It has a nice, sleek design. Bruce's electric toothbrush has a modern, aesthetically pleasing design. It comes in trend-driven seasonal colors and looks great on your bathroom counter. Get 15% off your Bruise toothbrush kit and refill plan when you use the promo code Chiclets at Bruise.com. That's 15% off using the promo code Chiclets, Chiclets, at Bruise.com. That's BRUUSH.com. And now we're going to send it over to Brenden, Dillon of the Washington Capitals. Well, our next guest is a defenseman who just started his 10th season in the NHL and his 2nd with the Washington Capitals. Though he wasn't drafted by an NHL team, he played in his 600th NHL game last season, with many more to go, I'm sure. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Brenden Dillon. Thanks for joining us, Bren. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, RA. Appreciate being on here.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. We're talking to you on Inauguration Day here in the States. You're in D.C. Is there a little buzz in the air down there today, similar to like a big game when, the whole city's kind of revved up?
I'll be honest. I'm not in the mix right now. Security is getting a little tightened up here around D.C., Arlington. We're a little bit out. I'm still hotel living here.
Okay.
Looking to get settled in my spot post camp. So 15 minutes out, and I'm staying safe.
Well, like the Caps, you got 6 points in your first 4 games. I know it's early, but how are you liking the sort of baseball style schedule so far?
Yeah, it's been a little different. I mean, we were a couple of days in Buffalo, a couple of days in Pitt. It's nice, I think, early on the boys can be together in the hotel. Not that we're doing much there. DoorDash has been a hot commodity for for in between games and whatnot, but a lot of ping pong, gaming. Boys have been heavy on the Call of Duty.
Who's number one?
So
Who's
we got
one?
a bunch. Osh is pretty deadly.
Shocker.
He's got like the PC setup going. Ovi's been getting into it too. A lot of the Russians don't have their family out yet, so they've been gaming up a storm and taking on the road too.
You hit a winner against Ovi, dips the ball and catch up. Tuck and takes a bite out of it. He's just a farm animal. What a fun team though. This
oh yeah,
so much stuff in that, social media especially comes out with your team, and we just see like Ovi going nuts before the game in the room and you dapping everyone up. Seems like the whole group just gets along as well as any team out there, huh?
What a crew! I mean, when I got traded here, I'll be honest, I knew nobody, and coming into the room, I mean, like doing a couple Google searches. What can I talk to this guy about? Hopefully, get on the golf course or something to break the ice. But I mean, I was more nervous for figuring out a handshake with all the fellas than my first game. I mean, it was a little touch and go for the first one. I had to get dressed a couple minutes earlier as we got going, and just a great group. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that they've created culture-wise here is from the top down, Ovi to Johnny Carlson, Osh, Wilson. I mean, you go through the lineup, these guys, they work their bags off on the ice, but they love to have a good time. They love to keep it loose in the room, practice days. I mean, you guys know how it is. It's a long season when you're in the trenches, so to have a couple laughs, it's the good stuff.
They work their bags off before the game starts with all those cup checks they're doing in warm-up. This guy showed up with a fucking chastity belt on because he didn't want to lose his horn first day after getting dealt.
Oh, the equipment guy's a little busy with all the new sticks. I mean, it's unbelievable. Those guys have a blast, though.
It's going to be like bondage outfits like the next level. You step inside the Washington room. They got the nipple clamp.
I had to make sure I was staying on the boards just in case. I mean, some of those ones, I mean, they got some bruises coming in. They're like, what did I do? Did I block a shot? No, I was just, give me a whack.
Well, I mean, you had a long run with San Jose. You get traded last year, played 10 games, and then, shit hits the fan. Corona comes. So you probably never got a place. You still don't have one. It's just been such a whirlwind, I'm guessing, with you not having a set place in stone in DC yet.
Oh, it's been a gong show. The last year, well, coming up on when did we shut down? First or second week of March.
Where'd you go then?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised just outside Vancouver. So Biz and I had a couple good times at Vancouver when he was a West Coast guy for a little bit. Yeah, we can keep those for another time. But so I obviously coming from San Jose, a West Coast guy, didn't know much about the East Coast and travel and whatnot. What a dream it is out here. I mean, I could maybe play an extra couple of years with the hour travel in the loan. But the shutdown happened, was in a hotel. Me and Ilya Kovalchuk having some nice dinner parties together, the two of us here in the hotel. Head back to San Jose. Was there for a few weeks just in my place. I had a condo there, beautiful Santana Row. I'm sure boys have stayed there before.
The most boring place in the league, I used to say. You'd get in there and you're like, oh boy.
Hey, business called it before, man, Jose. I mean, I'll be honest, there's not much going on nightlife wise.
Oktoberfest.
So was back there, and then my gal's from Minnesota, so we made a pit stop in there. Got some skates in on the route back, but a lot of driving miles logged due to the old pandemic. Didn't want to be getting any positive tests and having to sit out extra. So finally made it back this way. Grinding. I mean, there's all these restrictions with when you're going in to view homes, look at homes, condos, the whole 9 yards. So finally we've found a place, and I'll hopefully be moving in the next week or two here.
What have been your early impressions of Zdeno Chara as a teammate so far?
I mean, just legendary. I don't know where else you can go. Obviously a big human in himself. Here I was thinking I was a big guy at 6'4", and I'm got to see the Cairo a couple extra times just looking up at him in the room. But he's there's a reason why he was a captain, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. This guy, when he speaks in the room, you listen up. Works his balls off in the gym too. I mean, his first couple of days, I feel bad for the Czechs and Slovaks on the old wash here, because they were just brought right into the full Z workouts first day of camp, and I'm sure they're still sore after those ones. And here the guy is at age 43, still playing 20 minutes a night, blocking shots. It's even in a team. We've got a pretty veteran team here in Washington, and I still think a guy like him coming in has been huge for the group, for the leadership and whatnot. And he's Big Z.
You got your big ticket this past summer. I mean, that for a guy like you who's had the career path you've had, like how exhilarating was that with finally get basically recognized as far as the finance is concerned, basically what you've put into the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's been nice. I'll let you know when we get a paycheck what it looks like. It's been a while for the boys, but it's something where I think going into free agency this past summer, there was a lot of question marks. You talk to guys around the league that were coming up on their contract year, and just so many unknowns. We didn't even know if there was going to be a season, if guys were going to have to start going over to Europe, what it was going to look like. And I think for myself, you kind of talk to guys that have gone through the process before. It's kind of like, oh yeah, test the market, pick your city, pick your beach house, whatever you want to be. But I don't think it was going to be that way for myself. And I think from being in Wash for the couple weeks and seeing what the squad's like, how much fun they have, great area, great city. So was happy it worked out, and to be here for another 4 years, this is going to be a blast.
I thought maybe since you were hanging out with Kovalchuk, he helped you negotiate it.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to talk to Backy about it. Nick Backstrom just did
no
his
agent,
deal.
right?
No agent. He got it done in February, right before we were all shut down. I was like, geez, smartest agent there is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So we go back a lot of times in this to earlier in your life, in your hockey career. And like first thing everyone kind of notices when looking up you and your stats is like you weren't drafted. And it's kind of shocking, like your size and how well you skate. Were you shocked then, or did you become such a better player at 2021? How did that all go down?
It was a weird kind of hockey career for me. Start at the very least. Being a Canadian kid, I mean, hockey was eat, breathe, sleep, live, everything. And growing up, especially being a Canucks fan, Pavel Bure as a young kid, and the Sedin twins. I mean, we were pretty lucky there in Vancouver to have some of the players roll through. And you play your minors, and then you go through, and there's the junior drafts and these types of things. And a lot of the guys I still skate with back home all got drafted. And I just remember when I didn't get picked at age 16, and these guys are wheeling around, I'm like, geez, I feel like I can play with these guys, feel like I can keep up at least. And I was very fortunate to get on in the WHL there in Seattle, and we had, it was I think 5 or 6 first round picks my first 2 years. And I was like, wow, you're actually talking about like NHL scouts coming in here. You're talking about these things. And I was very fortunate. I had a great 20-year-old year, signed on with Dallas, and just was very, very lucky to have some awesome veteran guys. I mean, Ray Whitney, Brenden Morrow, Jamie Benn, Trevor Daley. I mean, the list really went on. And I think as a young player, I'm sure as you found out too, to have those guys kind of bring you along, teach you how to be a good teammate, teach you how to learn. And, when you have those, there's a reason why some of these guys have been playing for, 15 years in the league, and how they just come to the rink and just have fun and realize, you're playing hockey, you're getting to be in the best league in the world. And, at the end of the day, just get better every day too.
Going back to your Bantam draft, I was reading something. It might have been a typo. Were you very undersized when you were 14 years old? Because I know OHL, it's a little different. You get drafted the year before you go. Usually in the Bantam draft, it was 2 years before in the WHL, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I was just a little wee lad, 5'2" at age 14. So, mom and dad, I mean, my dad's 6'2", mom is 5'9", and it was just kind of like, hey, is this kid going to start eating his breakfast? Is he going to have his Wheaties and sprout up eventually? And kind of just the old cliche, stick with it. And was fortunate enough to have a growth spurt. I think when I was 18, I ended up kicking like 6'2" or 6'3" when it was my draft year. And they weren't calling me Bambi on the ice, so I could actually have some sort of coordination. And yeah, here we are.
You had to sleep in an inversion table. Your parents were like, we're not, we don't want any young or small lads in our household.
Yeah, exactly. It was embarrassing, the Dillon name. Like, come on, kid, let's go. What are you doing?
Yeah, your dad. This mine, honey?
Yeah, the milkman was lurking around or something. Who knows?
But it must have been like shocking almost. I mean, was there one year when there was a huge growth spurt, or was it just kind of over 2-3?
Yeah, no, I'd say it was probably like 17, 18. So I was a late birthday. So draft year was 18. And I think that summer, like after my first year of junior, I came home and like my buddies kind of said it, you know, like you'd be going to the golf course or hanging out at the rink. They'd be like, hey, like, Dilly, did you grow or something? I shrink. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. And then, you know, you're at home every day with your parents, so they're not really saying anything. And the next thing you know, you're kind of like as tall as your dad. And then he's like, okay, so, you know, something's going on. And it was just weird. You know, everyone's different growers and everything happens. And just glad it finally did for me.
You're just patting your buddies on the head. Nice to see you again, bud.
Well, it felt nice until Z's patting me on the head now.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
I noticed as your junior career progressed, especially in your last year, you finally put some numbers on the point. Now, was that something you had to do just because you're the older guy and there weren't many other guys on the team, or is that something that you eventually added to your bag in junior because of the coach's decisions?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, I'd been telling my coaches for years, hey, get me on the peeper here. Like, you know, get me something. I got a showcase for these scouts that are coming in. And I mean, I think it's a lot of things involved with your hockey career, right? Is place and time, or time and place, opportunity. And I had some great coaches there in junior. Turner Stevenson played a long time in the NHL. Rob Sumner, who's one of the head scouts with Calgary now. And they just, every year I was just trying to get better. I know it sounds so, you know, everyone wants to do that, but finally my last year, it was kind of like, all right, either you're, you know, heading to hopefully UBC next year and I'm going to be trying to make something with school, or let's try and do this thing with pro. And, you know, I was fortunate to put up some numbers, played with some great players, other drafted guys, and got some looks, started talking to some NHL teams. And, you know, I've been trying to get on the power play ever since.
You kind of just answered my next question. Is like, there had to be at that point a bunch of teams that were interested. Were you really choosing with going with Dallas against some other options, or were they kind of the leading candidates?
I mean, I'll be honest. I was pretty lucky. I was able to talk to probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 teams throughout the course of the year. And I think that's one thing that I was again, very, very lucky to be, is not drafted in a sense. And it was such a heartbreak thing at age 18 where, you know, you go through the tears and you're sitting there with your buddies and your parents and you're so bummed out. And looking back on it, I mean, think about it. If you're a centerman drafted to the Pens in the last 10 years, like, you know, good luck, right? Or, you know, for the longest time, a defenseman with teams that were great on the back end. It's just, you're kind of locked in there, unfortunately. And to be able to kind of talk to those teams and just see where you might be able to fit in and look at some depth charts. And again, my coaches that I had in junior were really good with me on that. And, you know, hey, look, you can maybe go and try and, you know, live on the beach in LA, or you can try and make a good, you know, honest NHL career in a place where you're going to get opportunity. And I spent some time in the American League, a year and a half, and really learned from another, you know, more veteran guys and good coaching staffs. And, you know, next thing you know, you get a crack. And that was my big thing, is once I got up there, I just wanted to stay there.
Texas Stars, Austin, probably one of the most undercover best places to play. What was it like living there?
Yeah, I don't know if it's undercover anymore. It's got to be Destination A in the American League. I mean, what a spot. I came up there from junior. We had an awesome group, young single guys that were just, you know, playing hockey and having fun. And the downtown area for sure could have an NHL team. I mean, you think about the support that, I mean, they have for the Longhorns down there. We might be second fiddle no matter what NHL team goes in, as long as that school is around. But lots to do. I mean, for a 21-year-old guy to go to that city, you know, had a lot of fun with the guys. I think our home record had to have been pretty lights out, because every team seemed to have their rookie party there. So
yeah, the Vegas of the AHL.
Yeah, the Vegas of the AHL, exactly. And I think when teams are, you know, going through the Rockfords and the Peorias, and then they stumble upon an Austin, Texas, you're probably trying to have a good time there.
Your second year with the team, second season, Jaromir Jagr comes in, 40 years old. I think he only was there for 34 games, but that must have been just like having a rock star in the room, no?
Oh, I mean, the players I've gotten to play with, these guys, I mean, legends from Brenden Morrow to Jaromir Jagr, obviously. Then, I go to San Jose, and you got Jumbo Joe, you got Patty Marleau, Brent Burns. I mean, the list really goes on. And I think for Jagr, that was the first time I was really like, oh, wow, like this guy is, I mean, it's Jaromir Jagr. His resume speaks for himself. He, I think one of the nights, it was probably a couple weeks in, I was still at the hotel, and he actually stayed at the hotel the whole year. So the practice rink in Dallas is out in Frisco, a little ways out from downtown. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing tonight, kid?" And I was like, eating dinner, playing video games, just trying to stay in the league. And he's like, "Great, well, we're going across the way." And I kind of thought he was kidding. And then there was another Czech guy, Thomas Vinsur, who we were the same age, both, first year up. And he's like, "No, Dilly, like, he's serious. We're going over there like 11 o'clock. And sure enough, 10:45, knock on my door. We get over there to the rink, and I don't know, he must have had a key because I don't even remember how we got in. Everything was locked up. And sure enough, ankle weights on his skates. We're doing these cutback drills, and it was insane. And he actually assisted when we played Vancouver. He assisted on my first goal. I think it was my second goal ever, but it was like the biggest goal I've ever. It was like him and Jamie Benn had the assists, and I'm like, this is just.
Was it in Van too?
In Van, first game at home, playing for free. Yeah. Like, it was just like, it was
30 tickets and a lower bowl, just bending you over.
Oh my! I played for free that whole week. That whole paycheck was gone, so that was well worth it, though. Obviously,
Jamie Benn seems like he has like an aura of mystery around him. I mean, he's a superstar, but it doesn't seem like people know a bunch about him. Is he like that in the room as well? Real quiet.
Yeah, I think Benny. When guys get to meet him and you get around him as much as his teammates and his buddies are, he's the best. He's such a good dude. He's funny. Again, another guy that's just like you said, kind of undercover until you get to see him every day and play against him. You're like, all right, this guy's the real deal. And a good BC boy too. I feel like when those Western Canadians tend to gravitate a little bit towards each other, and he was really good for me. One of the actually, Benny, funny story. My first game, we're playing St. Louis at home, and I knew Jordy pretty well from playing with him in the American League, and so we kind of had a close relationship. And Jamie Benn captain the Dallas Stars, and you're kind of like, you're on this guy. And so we're walking in the rink at whatever it was, 4:30, and he looks over at me. He's Dilly, first game tonight, eh? I was like, yeah, man. He goes, you nervous? I was like, yeah. He goes, you should be. It's the NHL. I was like, oh, great, here we go. And I mean, he was made me kind of settle in after that, and made some jokes once we were playing soccer and all that. But, here I am, 21 or 22, going to my first game, and, captain the teams, I was like, oh boy, I'm in one. But yeah, got away with it unscathed, and no dashes, I don't think. So I was okay.
You think Jamie Benn would come on our pod? Biz, you said you chatted with him. I got a million questions.
Every time I've asked him, he hasn't answered me back.
So he's maybe a retirement guy?
Yeah. I'm sure Benny. I'm sure you could convince him to get on eventually. Maybe do Brothers Ben or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Jordy would definitely take the focus off of him. I think he's a little bit more outgoing. But, I mean, it sounds like you had such good relationships with all those guys. So the one year where you get traded for Jason Demers, you end up getting sent over to San Jose. Was there any rumblings that you might be a guy who would get moved when it happened? Were you like, were there tears? Were there the devastation? Was it excitement because you're going over to a bit of a wagon in San Jose?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything, all those kind of combined. I mean, here you are, your first team. And I think for a lot of us, the team you're drafted by or the team you first signed with, you're like, oh, I'm going to play 20 years here. I'm going to ride off into the sunset to be the mayor of the town, and life's going to be good. And I think that was my kind of vision. I'm like, I love it here in Dallas. We got a bunch of young guys came up together, all kind of, you see each other's first game or first goal or, first nights out together, time on the road, and you get super close. And I think that trade was kind of the first time where I'm like, wow, this really is a business. We're not just playing hockey here. And this is just, a lot of things are kind of out of your control. And when I went over, it happens quick, right? You get traded, you're told at the rink, I think it was whatever, right after practice, 1:00, and you're on the 5:30 out to San Jose, different part of the world, different part of the country, where, you really only know the Fairmont downtown San Jose and the rink. And, going in there too, as you'd said, a really veteran, absolute wagon of a squad with Burnsy, Marlowe, Jumbo, these, Cooch, legends of the game that are still putting up numbers. And I think when I walked through that room, it was really an eye opener that, when I come here, I want to be here for as long as I can and try and just be a piece to the puzzle.
Was there a guy with more of a quiet presence than Trevor Daley? I know you mentioned him early on. Like I got the chance. I first started playing against him probably at 14, 15. Under 17, I remember he was the best player in the tournament, just unreal talent. But then I got to know him a little bit, and just a cool cat off the ice, like a true pro, sick skater. But I know you become pretty good buddies with him.
Oh, Dale still texts me, still reaches out when he retired this year. I mean, what a career for a guy that worked for everything he ended up achieving. 2-time Stanley Cup guy, beat us in the playoff, beat us in San Jose there the one year. So I don't know if I was super happy for him then, but someone who was just good to the young guys too. He comes in and he'd played however many hundreds of games, and it was so good to me, bringing me out for dinner, having me over to his place. And yeah, Trevor Daley, one of the best, still working with the game, and I'm sure the Penguins, I think he's hockey ops of some sort there. We're really lucky to have him.
So you've been fortunate that your whole career where you're going to these teams and these guys are taking you under their wing. And there was one story I heard about Jumbo Joe when you did get over to San Jose. I don't know if it was around Christmas time when you guys were on your break or something.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I thought, at least. So December 23rd in Anaheim, wheeling around pregame skate. I just gotten traded there maybe 3 weeks prior, and still the quiet guy in the room. There's a few of the younger guys around my age that I was, starting to bond with, and still in the hotel, the whole 9 yards. So my parents had already planned. They were already down in San Jose. They're there December 23rd waiting for me. We're flying back after the game, have the couple days, Christmas time, whatever. So yeah, pregame skate again. I'm wheeling around, and one of the younger guys, I think it was either Tierney or Barclay Goodrow, come up with like, "Hey, like Dilly, what are you doing for the break?" And I'm like, I'm just going back to San Jose. My folks are coming down. Sister's flying in from Toronto. We're just gonna, have the couple days and kind of get to know San Jose. He goes, "Well, oh, okay, never mind." And he skates away, and I'm like, "Well, they can't leave me cliffhanger like this." And so then Jumbo comes over. He goes, "Too bad, Dilly, huh? That sucks, bud." And I'm like, "What sucks?" Like, hey. So I skate over, and I'm like, "Goody, what's going on?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, there's like 5 or 6 of us. Jumbo's got a PJ. We're heading out to Vegas after the game." I'm like, well, after like tonight's game here, we're in Anaheim, like on the tarmac, ready to rock and roll. And he goes, "Yeah, like after the game." Like, well, we'll have to see if we go into overtime, we might have to push it back, but we should be all good. So I kind of skate over. I go, "Hey, Jumbo," like I've spoken 2 words to him maybe like in the 3 weeks, right? Like, "Hey, Jumbo, like nice to meet you, Jumbo." I'm like, "Hey, Jumbo, is you got room for me? If I hop in with you, like I don't know." The boys just said that we got a little PJ set lined up for Vegas, and I think I'd been there once, and with a few of the Dallas guys, and nothing crazy. But I mean, here we are, like legend of the game, Joe Thornton inviting me to go to Vegas, for Christmas break. And so, sure enough, literally finished the game. I think we won shootout or something like that. Of course, it goes to extra innings, and here I am walking by like the new coaching staff. Been there for 3 weeks. Todd McClellan's looking at me like, why are you not going on the bus kind of thing? Walking up the Anaheim little, right by all the cars, right by the bus, and the 6 of us hop into an Uber. Like this is like kind of like the what a league moment for me. Like, right here we are, we get on, sitting on the plane playing cards with Jumbo, like Joe Thornton, heading to Vegas. And sure enough, we got there, had a great time. Of course, paid for everything for all of us, took care of the boys. And
oh my God.
I think that's just one thing, when it comes to Jumbo and why he's still playing and still having success is I mean, I never saw the guy miss an optional skate in San Jose. Here he is at age 42. Now I see in Toronto, he's playing with those young guns and kind of bringing them along. Well, not so much bringing them along. I mean, I think they might be having to keep up with him. So I think it's it's those little things that you'll always remember as a player, and especially when I just came to the team and go on to be fortunate enough to play another 5-6 years with him, was pretty cool.
Austin brought him in to pay for the PJs when they go party with Biebs. That's probably why they fucking signed him. Whit?
Oh, imagine like Biebs is looking at Jumbo like you'd look at Jesus if you were a hardcore Catholic.
Oh,
just like get that beard, a legend. I mean, there's so many different stories of guys playing with him, of him just totally, hey boys, why don't you just join with me? And the way he said to you, like, too bad. Like he's nonstop ball busting, right?
Oh, he's the best. I mean, and that's the thing again, whether you're a guy coming up to play your first game, your fourth line, he's still treating you the exact same way. And there's a reason again why it's just pretty cool when you see the career he's had. I mean, I remember watching this guy play in Vancouver, Team Canada Olympics, win the gold medal. And here he is inviting me to hop on a plane with him to have one of best times of my life, and come back right after Christmas and do it all over again on the ice.
We've had Brent Burns on the show before. Brent, obviously a real character of the game. Is he maybe the most unique teammate you've ever had anywhere?
I mean, I think Burns, he's one of those guys where, I mean, Norris Trophy winner, one of the best D-men ever. And you could sit at coffee or have a beer with him and hockey might not even come up in a full 24 hours. Like he's just into so many different things. He's got his ranch, which again, you could talk to him about that for days. I mean, didn't matter on any bye week. I mean, the guy had to play in all the All-Star games, so he missed those extra couple days, but he got a chance. He's flying back home. He's on that ranch. He's chilling. He's running. He's doing hunting, fishing, whatever it is. Burnsy's in it. And I think, I mean, I still remember we were going paintballing as a team, kind of like a little team bonding thing. And this is just Burnsy to a T, but he's not just going to do something. He's going to do something like all in. And we're like, hey, boys, paintballing tomorrow. Team's renting the guns for you and everything, just to have some fun. And he shows up the next day with, like, it looked like he was going into an absolute war. And he's got the body armor. He's got the head to toe. His suit was probably about $5,000, everything all in. He had his own gun. This thing is probably semi-automatic shotgun. So it was, Burnsy was an awesome guy, awesome teammate, and someone I'm still able to call a good buddy.
Now, you get traded to Washington at the deadline in February. With your deal expired, I'm guessing that was a deal you were probably expecting to go somewhere at that point, no?
Yeah, I think from what the expectations were for the team, for us in San Jose last year, as to how things played out, definitely wasn't as we saw it coming. And I think come Christmas time, when we weren't winning games, you look at yourself in your own position as being a guy whose contract's up, and there wasn't really any negotiations going on. You're assuming, and not that San Jose is a big media market, but I was starting to get more and more that I could be traded. And I think in those instances, you're just hoping that it's a team that has a chance. And I think when I did find out that it was Washington, you go from the sadness and the kind of frustration of the last 6 hockey seasons being somewhere and having some success, and the guys that you're building the relationships with, all those kind of things are now going to be changed, whether you like it or not. Coming to Washington and kind of having the guys in the group that we do here really made it that much easier to kind of make the transition. And as I said, it was more so worrying about my handshake than getting in there.
How soon did you know that you wanted to stay in Washington for your next deal?
As soon as they offered him fucking 60, 20 sheets. How much did you get? You got a nice fat one, didn't you?
4-year deal, Biz.
Hey, look it up
classy.
on Google. Look it up on
Classy.
Google if you want, Biz. This guy's
Well, yeah,
not,
15-6, Biz.
I don't want
on a podcast. You'd come on and talk about how much you make, dude. That's not what we're all about here.
Okay, my apologies.
Yeah, it was. I think just coming and seeing the boys, seeing how much fun they had, and then on top of that, having the team we do. I mean, I think every year that you got Alex Ovechkin leading the charge, you got a chance to win a cup, and that's something that I haven't been able to do yet. And I think even with some of the other pieces that they were talking about adding, I mean, at the time, Hank Lundqvist was being in talks of coming, and obviously unfortunate everything that's gone on for him in the last couple of months. But I think the big thing here is it's a great hockey city, great hockey market, good group of dudes. And, I think at the end of the day, that's all you want.
What'd you make of the Cobra Kai the defensive player of the game? Because I think you were awarded at game 1. Have you seen that new show, and were you guys disappointed that was in fact the MVP trophy for the game?
Well, I'm a couple episodes in now, because when Lavi was kind of having that after game 1, I think a few of the boys were looking around like, you know the characters in this one, like I watched the Karate Kid, so I kind of had a bit of it, and bit of kind of an intro. But I think when Lavi brought that out and kind of just talked about the mentality we want to have here, it was pretty fitting for the group and just staying on track. A lot of stuff going on in the world, and Ocean and I got to share that one after game 1, and hopefully be many more wins where we can keep dishing it around the room.
Have you seen any sauce crossing by Ovi yet? He's a known double dipper, but with different sauces.
I heard he just annihilates the toilets in the road rooms too.
I mean, it's Ovi's world. We're just living it sometimes when it comes to those, and I think it's when it comes to the sauce dipping, we've got ourselves a pasta bar now on the road, so no one has to worry about the Alfredo having anything extra. I'm telling you, it's a different league here in Wash.
They put it at opposite sides of the room after listening to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, hey, like, come on, boys, like, what's going on? No, he's the toilets definitely. I mean, I don't know, maybe he's cleaned that act up, because I haven't had to. We all got our own room, so who knows what happens behind closed doors.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
What have you noticed, like Ovi in the room? Was he kind of what you expected going in, or did you have no expectations at all of what he'd be like around the boys?
Yeah, I think when I first got to Wash, and it was kind of almost similar with Jumbo, when you look at these guys on, from afar, or just from playing against him, like this guy's a legend, right? And you're thinking it's okay, come in, practice hard, work hard, and that's kind of all it is. Like how else could this guy be so good at hockey? And when you actually get to see, kind of peel back the layers of the Joe Thorns and the Alex Ovechkins and see just the other things, how good they are in the room with guys. And I think for Ovi specifically, I mean, just always a smile on his face and an absolute mutant, right? Like, I mean, this guy is just like scoring goals is just like to do what he's done. I think it was my third or second game when he scored 700 last year. And I mean, you would have thought that was his first goal, how excited he gets. And I think he still brings that attitude in practice, like in games too. And I mean, you don't score 700 by fluke, that's for sure. And have all the boys love you while doing it.
See, you get your Mariners hat on. That is a Seattle Mariners hat, right?
It is. Hey, it's Mariners. Let's just keep it. Let's not get. Yeah. No rumors getting started here.
Right. Wasn't even going there. What's up?
Okay, good.
I mean, considering we have to follow so many different teams, who's a guy on the team this year who it might not be a household name, who you think is going to be popping off in the next few years?
Well, I think he's already popping off, but I think Tom Wilson's a guy who's obviously known for his physical play and how speaking of mutants, 6'4", 220, wheeling around. But, I think he just is his mentality on the ice too. He's a guy that's just always getting better. I think he's got 4 or 5 points already in the first couple games. He's, PK, power play. He's kind of the heartbeat, I think, of our team when he seems to be going. He brings guys with him. And I think a lot of the guys on the team feed off that, like anybody. There's no fans right now. The atmosphere and whatnot's not what a normal NHL game is. There's some young guys too. I mean, this McMichael guy, we were calling him McJesus, but we haven't seen him on the ice yet since World Juniors. So, maybe if he can come in and be a quarter of the Connor McDavid, I mean, we'd be happy with him and Wash. So
I was pumping that kid's tires. I also, I had the chance to, I think maybe twice, I've been away on a golf trip with Backstrom, and you brought up him getting the deal done on his own, true legend status. But man, what a from just spending a couple different time with him on trips, I would love to get the chance to play with him, only because he is the quietest guy yet always chirping, if that makes any sense. It's like he's got that dry sense of humor, right? And I'm guessing the guys, just after seeing what he's done throughout his career, couldn't have more respect for him.
Oh, and that's just another guy that just flies under the radar. We talked about Jamie Benn earlier, and I think for Backy, I'm sure O would be the first one to tell you. Like a lot of those goals are, finding a wheelhouse, crossing passes. I'm just thankful I'm not on the PK against those guys these days. But I think Nicky's just your consummate pro, and another guy that's those Swedes sometimes they're just kind of like they kind of do it. You're like, oh, he's not listening to this conversation or whatever. And he comes in, and a couple of days later, he's got a good joke about everything that was going on. Or he's an awesome teammate, awesome guy who the boys love. He likes to get the guys together, and again, another one who it doesn't matter who you are on the team. He's treating you with tons of respect, bringing you along, and you don't put up that many apples unless you're doing something right.
We used to train together at Fortius with Nugent Hopkins' brother. Is it Adam Nugent Hopkins?
Adam Nugent Hopkins, yeah. Actually, Fortius RIP actually just shut down as of January 1.
Oh, that's where I was trying to keep my career going, and you were kind of just on the leveling up. Where are you spending most of your time training in BC now?
Yeah, so I've been there the last couple of years. I still remember. I don't know how many times you told me about you winning the Calder Cup, and how big of a warrior you were along the way. I think that was the summer after the sports hernia surgeries. Here you were and walking around with maybe it was just having the cup. I don't know what it was, but
I was lifting the Calder Cup. That's what hurt. What hurt. That's why I had bilateral sports hernia surgery. I met you around my shitty Cindy days. Perfect. All the craziness in Vancouver was because of you.
Hey, the Beatty Street condo. Not that I'd ever. We had a good time there, and a bunch of the fellas.
We're not allowed to mention name on the podcast. He gets all weird about it. He likes to fly very under the radar, and those were our heydays where
don't even bring his name. Don't even bring my name up. He said,
"Yeah." He's like,
hey, you can cut that one out. Then we don't want to.
No, we just actually bleep the name. We have to bleep the name, so we leave the mystery of what is. But
he was my coworker on the Biz Nasty Does BC. Like we were the guys hogging the steam clock there, or whatever. Why doesn't he want the recognition? He did a great job.
Yeah, exactly. We were out there almost scrapping. You were, I think, at the time you were training with Tanner Glass out there and a few other guys.
Tanner Glass, Eric Brewer, again, just a bunch of beauty. Oh yeah, awesome dudes.
That guy was nasty.
There's another guy almost like flying out. I was talking with Z about him the other day because they both were Prince George Cougars in the Western League, and two guys that Bruise played 1,000 games, had an awesome career, I think he's just living his best life right now, golfing it up in Vancouver area. But
good for him.
Those two guys, our group they were the ones bringing myself and Morgan Riley, a bunch of us young crew, Shea Theodore along, and so now the group the last couple of summers was myself, Morgan, Shea Theodore. We got Ryan Johansson in there. So we got a good group, and then obviously Nuge and his brother. He's got a couple of guys that they're doing their thing, and then just pop over to the rink next door. So a good little setup for the boys.
They wouldn't let me train in the big boy group. I had to go after them in the AHL group. But that's why I used to mention the Calder
it's always
Cup.
Before, so you got to be up even earlier.
I thought the Calder Cup would put me in the big group, for fuck's sakes.
Oh, Biz was telling everybody, like the physio is like working on you after training. They're like, hey, this Paul Bissonnette guy, he's like, how many games has he played again? He keeps telling us about.
He just kicked me off the table.
I borrowed some of Brewer's games.
Yeah,
I just added some of his. Once he hit 1,000, I took the rest of them, added them to my totals.
Yeah, Brew had more than enough to share with anybody.
Nice to hear you guys were chatting about me behind my back, though, about my Calder Cup. Suck it.
Yeah, this is when Biz thought that he was a little more important than he actually was. I think we could both say that we had issues with that occasionally, Biz.
Exactly.
Did you end up becoming pretty close with Eric Brewer just through the training and him kind of bringing you along, or is it now that you're out of touch a little bit?
No, I still Brew texted me after I signed my deal. He texted me through playoffs and, when I got traded. And I think, when you retire, I'm sure it's something where it's you want to stay involved with the game, but it's different. And I think for Brew, he's got a family now. He's pretty involved with. I remember he'd have some funny stories. He was picking up women's, his 6 or 8 year old's daughter's soccer, and he's going through the trials and tribulations of that. And then I remember he still would pop into the gym the odd time. Like one time, I think he was doing mountain biking, and he came in and his shoulder was absolutely dinged up, and I'm like, Brew, you just looked like he just got run over in the corner. He goes, this might be the worst injury I've had. And it wasn't even playing hockey. Here I am retired, and I'm coming in with an AC hanging off the bone.
Separation.
Exactly.
Along with Luongo and Bertuzzi, there's a long list. He was a horrific trade by the Islanders. Top 5 pick. They got rid of him early. Went on to have just a fantastic career. But that was a name from the past. I always looked up to that guy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Brenden, I only brought up Seattle, not to do it, Ross, just because you're from there. You played there for 4 years, from right over the border. Were you excited for the region to get that 32nd NHL team?
Oh, it's going to be awesome for that city, for the league as a whole. I think guys will see when we go there on the road. It's an awesome city. I usually make a trip out of it in the summer with my buddies. We'll go down when the Blue Jays would roll through town, and I'd be one of the maybe 100 people in the entire 20,000 or 30,000 people wearing a Mariners getup, but kind of got to stay true to my guys. Like you said, I was there for a couple of years, and my first MLB game, first NFL game was all in that city, and a lot of good times. But it's the area where the rink is. That was my first 2 years. We played at the Key Arena, so it's going to look a lot different when we go through town there next time with all the renovations being done. But even for the rivalries with Vancouver, how close it is, that whole Western kind of Pacific division or whatever it is, the Honda division this year, I think is ultimately going to be better for it in the long run.
Did you guys draw pretty well with fans when you were there?
We did great. It was being in that Key Arena, like I think, it was there for the Seattle Sonics where they were getting 19,000. And so that one didn't look so great, but when we were 30, 40 minutes south of the city, and they built an unreal facility for us. Now, Barzal was just lighting it up there a couple of years ago, Theodore and those guys. So yeah, definitely good hockey town.
Love it.
I want to ask about your number one. Sorry, Biz. One last quick one. You've been able to wear number 4 in 3 different cities, which doesn't happen a lot because it is retired in a lot of places. Is that number an homage to somebody or just something you always wore?
I kind of always wore it growing up. I remember, I don't know what year it was. I'd asked for Bobby Orr was my dad's big favorite, and then being the Bruins, I've watched the goal of him going through the air how many times, and so that was kind of why I wore 4. And over the years, even guys that have worn it, the Scott Stevens and other number 4s that I've kind of just watched. It was cool to be able to get that. And I actually wore 5 in junior because our captain at the time, Thomas Hickey, he was a first round pick and had a great career. He was wearing number 4, and there was not a chance I was asking for that when I got there. So, like you said, very fortunate that, I feel like when we go through some of these teams like Montreal or Toronto or, the Rangers, you're like, geez, how do the boys pick a number? There's so many retired, but been very lucky. Yeah.
You get him a Casio, instead of the Rolex. There's a 2-year warranty on that, by the way.
Calculated too.
Just keep the receipt. Just keep that receipt.
Colby was saying he was in Montreal for how many games last year, and he bought that Kulak a Rolex, I think, for his number.
I know.
That's classy. That's classy.
He just has to get rid of some of that dough.
That Montreal trip worked out for him, and the team ended up getting like a high draft pick when they got rid of him, right? Or how did that end up working? All right, you were saying that.
Yeah, they picked him up and then they flipped him for a couple picks, and it basically it was a pretty beneficial move by the Burger Van. Yeah,
Burger Van, GM of the year. Let's go. Well, Dillon, we appreciate you coming on. I didn't have any more questions, but you guys have a very good team. I don't even know if Whit picked you guys to make playoffs this year. Did you pick him to make playoffs, Whit?
No,
We'll have to change that one.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing when you hear that I picked against you, because that's usually the opposite of whatever I pick happens. And I said right away, after the first week, I said Pittsburgh and Washington. I kind of wish I could flip them, but I'd never do it because that's the ones who gave me my big ticket. So
I was just gonna say, a former Penn can't say that.
No. Pens will be getting in every year the rest of this podcast, for as far as I'm concerned. Biz picked Phoenix to go on, Arizona to go undefeated. So
yeah, it might be in his contract or something.
Yeah, they could pay for they could pay for me.
Well, we appreciate it, man, and I know you're a golf guy, Sandbagger in the future. Biz mentioned that, so we look forward to it.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, boys.
Thank you so much to Brenden Dillon, doing a hell of a job playing for the Washington Capitals. They currently sit in second in the East, so we appreciate him coming on. Great chat. And I need to talk to you guys about Taylormade. You've seen Taylormade and Chiclets form a little partnership here. It's because Taylormade is the best in the business. The Sim clubs have now been released. February 19th was the day, my birthday. Thanks for the well wishes. You can now get the Sim 2. Listen, they've dropped the driver, the fairway, the rescues, and there are 3 new sets of irons. I think Biz just recently got sent one of those sets. So what good is a new driver or fairway wood or iron without a good ball? So now the Tour Performance ball is not a high-priced ball, but it's still very high quality. And the Tour response for those people who have always wondered what those high-priced Tour balls are like, and if you're afraid to pull the trigger, these ones are for you. And you can even get them branded with the Chiclets logo if you want to. So what are you waiting for? Get yourself fit for the new Sim family of clubs as soon as possible. You can do it in store. You can do it anywhere. And you got to figure out your game by using the Sim 2. So shout out to Taylormade.
Nice. Can't wait to try them out. Maybe I'll get back on the golf train maybe on par with skiing once I start cranking these Taylormades.
Biz, I can't wait to get to Florida, man. We're going to have to go check out a zoo or do some little off the beaten path content.
Gator Farm, baby.
Gator Farm,
any of you former NHLers, or I guess because the current ones can't get together with us, if you guys are down there, hit us up. Maybe we can go out and grab some food. What other things could we do around here? Maybe go to a Gator Farm.
Everglades. There's a ton of stuff in Florida.
Maybe we could do a Sandbagger down here with some guys. Let us know if you're in. Where do you live? Jupiter, Florida? You can drive.
So depending on where we are, what area are we staying in? Because we need recommendations on very popular dining spots. If you guys could throw them out to us on Twitter, what area are we in?
I got the dining
Jupiter. We are in Jupiter, Florida, Biz.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, Biz, I got a couple of buddies coming out your neck of the woods soon. I got to get a list of restaurants and clubs. They're asking me to hit you up for some VIP places. So
Hedonism 3. The new bar.
Fuckfest 21 starring R.A.
Biz is gonna drive him home like those kids he met at the club last time as one guy was getting a hand doogie.
Don't fly 2,000 miles to fuck somebody else's wife. Just come to Scottsdale. Hedonism 3 nightclub in the Viagra Triangle. Oh, yeah.
Print it. That was fucking great. Oh, man. Oh, speaking of the golf, too, that Genesis Open was this week. I mentioned before, Barstool Banks. I don't know if you've been reading him. He's been crushing these fucking golf blogs, dude, lately. He's been like a hidden gem at Barstool. He has just started writing a lot of golf lately, but even these generic tournaments that you don't really follow, he's been killing them. Ooh, what's his name? Homa 144.
Yeah, this guy.
Nice
If people who don't know Max Homa, Biz got to play golf with them. He's the person who just roasts people's swings online. He's very funny. I was really happy for him because he's a local kid who's, I think his tweet was at Riviera, he grew up years. He tried to get a high five from Tiger, just going to the tourney. And then by winning Tiger's tournament yesterday or Sunday, he gets a 3-year exemption on tour and was handed a trophy from Tiger Woods. So I was super happy for him. I've chatted with him a little, like on DMs. I've never met him. I know you did. You said he's a solid guy, huh?
Unreal guy. Every time it was drive at 320. Hits it to 10 feet and he just like putts it. It was fucking nuts. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, mind you, that course we were on was probably like a mini putt course for him. Yeah. But he was so emotional after round. And Whit, I don't know, I'm sure you saw it on the 18th. He had a 3-foot putt where he could have iced it in quote unquote regulation. And then it had to go to extra holes because he'd missed that. But you know, he'd learned throughout the last couple of years to kind of collect his thoughts, put it in the past. He ended up icing it in extra holes. And I think he said that his wife texted him afterward and she was like, hey, stick to the plan. Because the mental aspect of golf is in a whole different realm.
It's all mental. It's when at that level, it's crazy. And you know what's funny is if you think about, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was going to more throw it over to you. And I think another thing he said is he had this bad habit of always after hitting bad shots saying, oh, I suck. And he kind of had to train himself to stop doing that because eventually if you keep saying it, you're going to believe it, right? And you're going to get so down on yourself. And he stopped saying it and he's just, man, it's like, and what's awesome about it too, Whit, is he's been very vocal about that. Kind of like when we had McKinnon on and talking about those mental struggles early on.
Well, the cool story about Homa is he was a big time college player, a highly ranked amateur golfer. And then he got on tour, and I think he had some success. I don't exactly remember how the beginning went, but then he got the driver yips. And for people who don't know what that is, you've heard putting yips, like he couldn't hit his driver. He's missing left. He's missing right. He said like some of the, he's at the rock bottom where he lost his card and he's able to come back on tour. That's his second win. It just shows like golf is so insane for the mind and like the things that you can tell yourself and the things that you can trick yourself. It's just a crazy sport. And for him to come back and get that W after missing that putt. Now, the hard thing is you miss a 3-footer to win a tour event. And this is a guy who dreamed of winning this event.
Right.
But you're in a playoff still. So, like, can you tell yourself, well, what if I just buried a 15-footer to get into the playoff? I'm in the playoff. Like, you just have to find the excitement. So I think he did a great job. And there was a lot of people watching. He was on the range and he was on his phone. I didn't know his wife texted him because we started an interview with Jody Shelley that'll be coming out. That was great. I know we just talked to him, but we went all over his career. So that was starting as it was kind of ending last night in LA. And it probably was just easy for him. All right, he's talking to his wife, whatever he's doing. He's like, I'm in a playoff. I still have a chance. And then he had to dodge a bullet on the playoff hole. Tony Finau, who finishes top 5 every week, but like can't win. He had about a 5-footer to win, 7 feet, I think, and missed it after Homa made a miraculous shot stuck up next to a tree. So it was an exciting PGA Sunday for sure. That tournament's awesome.
Yeah, if again a 40-footer one shot too. I mean, that's a nice little bomber. Yeah, I'm probably even higher.
I saw a lot of people have him at like 60 plus 6,600, and not to copy off of what Madden said, but seriously. And then I saw a lot of them at tickets at plus 6,000.
Yeah,
I saw a few at 6,600. So that's higher than the number you just said, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many shops out there in different states. You're going to see a bunch of different numbers. But point being is that's a fucking real nice pup if you had a couple hundred on him or even a dime, which you don't want.
I didn't know about the 3-year exemption like that in itself right there.
Yeah. So most events you get a 2-year exemption after winning, but there's elevated status tournaments where like the Genesis Tigers tournament and some others, I think Arnold Palmer's tournament, you get 3, you get that extra year. So, I mean, that's just huge. I think he's looking good now, but still for any guy to have an exemption where you don't have to worry about losing your card, it takes so much heat off.
All right, boys, moving right along. This story came out over the wire just about an hour or so ago. Big news out of Manhattan. The New York Rangers, this is from Emily Kaplan at ESPN. The New York Rangers star Artemi Panarin is taking a leave of absence for the team for personal reasons. The news comes after a Russian newspaper published allegations from Panarin's former KHL coach, Andrei Nazarov, noted Spittin Chiclets fan. He claimed the winger got into a physical altercation with an 18-year-old woman in Latvia back in 2011. Nazarov's interview said Panarin, quote, sent her to the floor with several powerful blows, according to a translation provided to ESPN. Nazarov has previously criticized Panarin's outspoken beliefs toward Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's a huge part of the story. The Rangers had a statement. Temi vehemently and unequivocally denies any and all allegations in this fabricated story. This is clearly an intimidation tactic being used against him for being outspoken on recent political events. Temi is obviously shaken and concerned and will take some time away from the team. The Rangers fully support Temi and will work with him to identify the source of these unfounded allegations. Now, it should be worth noting there's no woman has come forward. These allegations are coming strictly from Andrei Nazarov, who has a history in Russia of supporting Putin. He's a Putin loyalist. And, Putin's a mobbed-up dictator. He's trying to upend democracy around the world. He has his people who fall in line with him, and they support him for whatever reason. Artemi Panarin is not one of these people. I think his grandfather, if he wasn't punished by Putin, he's not a fan of his. And he takes a huge risk to speak out like this because Putin poisons people around the world. He poisoned this guy Navalny, who Panarin supports because this guy supports a more free and open Russia. And the idea of being poisoned is not that much of a stretch of a belief to have when Putin is involved. So Panarin's probably scared for his life. I know I'm rambling a little bit here. This is a huge story.
No, this is fucking crazy, man. And I don't even know what to say about it other than like this. Like that's like so sad, man. This kid seems like such a great kid, and like you said, like he's obviously speaking out because he's in a circumstance where he can. And, I'm sure a lot of people in Russia are supporting him big time, but they can't say shit.
Right.
You hear people who like don't like the United States that live here. You want to see issues that like really make you think how lucky you are to live in the United States. He's probably actually so worried about family members at home, right? I mean, like absolutely. At this point, it's like you're making statements, and I've seen people online. This is why athletes shouldn't get into politics. It's like, all right, well, you could say that. You have the right to say that. But this kid's speaking up for like millions of people. And from what I've like read and seen, a lot more Russians are now. Like I would say Putin's, I don't know if he's going anywhere. I don't know enough, but like there are a lot of people who are vocally saying the same things Panarin are. And for him now to be like almost sort of like getting them, like, is this him like getting the message? Like, hey, shut up. But when you have family and people you care about that are still there, it's like it's such a scary time for that kid. I can't even imagine. And for the Rangers to come out and really back him, that shows kind of what at least they think of this story. I mean, this could be completely fabricated.
Yeah, and I mean, the Rangers, they did make a statement. I mean, maybe they could have been a little bit more specific in there, but maybe they don't want to wade into too many political waters. But, yeah, there were huge protests recently in Russia. Tons of thousands, if not hundreds, took to the streets to protest. And then they tried to do it again, and all of a sudden they barricaded all of Moscow. It looked like the Soviet era. People were afraid to come out because the police force works for Putin, man. It's like this is what happens when, a country crumbles into fucking a dictatorship, is everybody wants to curry favor with a dictator. I don't know, man. I think Russia might have been better off back in the 80s under the Soviet system than rather having a guy like Putin in charge. And there is a Twitter account. It's at Slava Malamud. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. He's a former Russian citizen. He teaches in America now. He has probably the best insight onto these situations. He grew up in Soviet Russia. He knows all the actors in these things. He's got great insight. And he said today regarding the Panarin situation, 1, it may or may not be true. Latvian police records will tell. 2, there is, and he wrote, no doubt Nazarov's motivation is political. 3, Nazarov may or may not be acting on his own accord. 4, the likeliest motivation is to remove Panarin from the Olympic team. Again, this is Slava's opinion. Number 2 is a fact, i.e. Nazarov's motivation. He said Nazarov implied so himself by inserting the bit about, quote, Panarin's provocative social media posts for no apparent reason. As far as Panarin with the Olympic team, that's Slava speculating, but he said it would be in character for Putin's cronies to use Nazarov to eliminate a potentially problematic player. Obviously, Nazarov is a notoriously loose cannon, known for not known for being smart, subtle, or cautious. Again, this is not me saying it, and this might be just his way of trying to ingratiate himself to the powerful. So either way, it's a shitstorm for Panarin. The kid just, wants to see people in his homeland have the freedom he now has in America. I think that may be simplifying it, but Putin's a bad man. He's a bad actor, and he's probably shitting his pants that his family might be in danger right now. So it sucks that this stuff wades into hockey. But again, when you're dealing with a former KGB guy running the country and he's in bed with all the oligarchs and he's mobbed up, this is the type of stuff that happens, man. So
I mean, well said, RA. I know you went long there, but like you pretty much nailed it all. So wish him the best. Fuck, this is a terrible scene.
Yeah. Obviously, we wish him the best. And actually, this just popped up on Malamud's Twitter feed. For what it's worth, the way Nazarov's story reads in original Russian with all the strange details, it is absolutely reminiscent of old Soviet propaganda pieces. My opinion, strictly, but this is at the very least grossly embellished. So, and again, it's not like there's a woman making a claim saying that she was beat. It's coming from Nazarov. So, we wish Artemi the best. By all accounts, he's a nice kid, and he's in a real shitty situation. So, meanwhile, we got a much happier story. We're going to go to New Jersey Devil. Travis Zajac also played in his 1,000th game. Played it on Sunday versus Washington. I finally got it done. There was a bunch of COVID-related affairs. Zajac was the 20th overall pick in the 2004 draft. He's in his 15th season. Going to be 36 in May, man. His career has flown by. Only 66 guys in NHL history have played 1,000 games with one team. He's the 4th Devil to do it after Brodeur, Danico, and Eliash. And this was interesting. He was supposed to play Saturday, but again, the COVID shit kind of bumped it around. It was supposed to be against Eric Stahl, who was the only active player left from his NHL debut. He ended up playing at his 1,000th against Ovi, who is the only other member of the 2004 draft class to hit that number so far. So a little bit of, what's the word I'm thinking of there? What's that?
I'm not that. I usually ask you those vocab questions.
I know.
I know what you're talking
about. You wouldn't ask me?
Yeah, shocker. We'll get the French one. I think it should be brought up that Bruce Boudreau recently has been on NHL Network. I don't know if he still is, but he was talking about when he was coaching Parisi in Minnesota, and Parisi telling him the best center he ever had was Travis Zajac. So I think I don't think the numbers were ever enormous, offensively, but he played over 80. He played 82 games full season. I think 4 years in a row early on in his career, and then he's gotten 80 games quite often. So he was very durable, and he was good defensively, and he was also way more skilled than people thought. First round pick, 2 years at North Dakota, one of those guys that was on the fast track. And he's just had an unreal career. And I know that the Devils have had some tough years. He got to go to the Cup final in 2012. But definitely an underappreciated player his entire career.
That's a sneaky 1,000 games, man.
Yeah, nobody talked. Nobody.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, exactly. Remember, who was the guy I thought had played 300 games, and then last year he's Josh Bailey.
Bailey for honors.
When he hits 1,000, it'll be somewhat
Did he get
similar.
drafted last year? Wasn't he a second rounder? What the hell? Well, you look at that. Look at that.
The Devils, very, very, very good draft selection. Looking back, that he's still there, and fourth player to ever do that with that team is that's impressive.
What that words drive me crazy. I can't think of it. Because
nostalgia,
not nostalgia, not symmetry. When things come together, not kismet, but it's gonna drive me fucking crazy.
Deja vu. Got it. No. Let's move on.
We'll definitely move on. But we're definitely one of the more durable players. I was looking at his games played. He's missed very few games. So again, congrats to him. Let's see a couple other notes here. Elvis Merzlikins, he's week to week. Columbus goaltender. That kid, former guest for Spittin Chiclets, he's going to be out for a little bit. Florida had their season opening road point streak snapped at 7 games to the Detroit Red Wings. A little bit of an upset there. Any other notes, boys, you want to jump on before we get to the fun stuff at the end?
I mean, Jans is still putting up some points. We got
he had 3 apples the other night.
That little group of haters in Florida, they've been pretty quiet online.
Oh, those people are fools. They don't know anything, I tell you, Biz. They don't know anything. I love that they're listening, just screaming too. You don't know anything, Whitney. Well, I got the mic, you
He
muppet.
took a penalty last night. He was on for a goal against.
He's got 12 points in 16 games. He's a plus player. Oh, but he turns it over once in a while. Oh,
my God, he's a riverboat gambler. Oh, he's fucking winning, baby. He's cashing his chips in. Yo!
All right, gang. The best teams start with great talent, but finding the right people can be a challenge. When it comes to hiring for your business, Ziprecruiter can help you find the right candidates for your team fast. From healthcare to manufacturing to business services and more. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/chiclets. When you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it gets sent out to over 100 top job sites with one click. Then, ZipRecruiter's matching technology scans thousands of resumes and profiles to send you the most qualified people for your job. It's so effective that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter got a quality candidate through the site within the first day. And right now, to try ZipRecruiter for free, our listeners can go to ZipRecruiter.com/chiclets. That's ZipRecruiter.com/chiclets. That's CHICLETS. ZipRecruiter.com/chiclets. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Wait, I got a trivia question for you.
Uh-oh.
How many players in NHL history have played 1,000 games?
Didn't RA just say this too?
Fuck.
Oh, man. You just said it, right? All right.
I thought I did. I got my fucking 19,000.
351 players. Crosby was the 350.
I was going to say 600.
Well,
I said it.
I had another one.
That's right.
I had another one written in my phone here for the Oilers. Oilers had lost 28 games in a row when neither McDavid or Draisaitl didn't have a point. They've
28.
since won, but they've won 2 in a row now when they hadn't gotten a point before that pop off by McDavid. So that's pretty crazy. 28 games they hadn't won if those guys didn't cash in. And
you get home, your wife's like, "How'd it go?" McDavid and Connor didn't have a point. She's like, "Oh, okay." We'll get him next game.
I had one written
McDavid
down. Stat Guy Biz just dunking on Whit here had another one for Huberdeau. With a 3-point performance against Carolina, 2 goals and assists, Huberdeau reached 20 points in his 14th game of the season, setting a franchise record for fastest Florida Panther player to reach 20 points in a season. This guy is he's getting into that 1A class now. No? Why are you laughing, G?
That was just a sick stat, dude.
You're just Stat Guy, dude.
Are you being sarcastic? You don't think
I
that's
was
a good
being
one?
a little sarcastic there.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe I'm a fucking idiot then.
Good news, Whit. I found the word.
What is it, RA?
Very serendipitous.
Oh, hell of a movie, Serendipity.
Whoa.
I check it out. Who's the rocket that's in that movie? RA.
Was it blonde
John
Sharon Stone?
No, John Cusack. He meets she's like the number one like MILF in the game. Like Portnoy was like trying to DM her and stuff.
Oh, Jessica Biel?
No, she's older. Damn it, I love
Minnie
this
Driver?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale. Yeah, and so she meets Cusack and like they have a cup of coffee and she's giving him her number. And then the number blows away and she's all into like what's the word, Biz? Like all into like
I don't know. You've been looking for a lot of fucking words this episode.
Galaxy. Yeah, I'm struggling with my vocab. She's all into like basically like whichever way the wind blows, no pun intended. And so she won't give him the number again. But she signs a book and then she goes and puts it in a book. She says, I'll put this in a bookstore somewhere. If you ever find this book, my name and number's in it. You'll call me. And then the movie's about him finding her. He's with another girl, Tom Brady's baby's mama. It's just a great romantic flick that I think anyone would enjoy. It has my seal of approval.
Tom Brady's got a baby mama?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. What's her name?
Bridget Moynihan.
Bridget Moynihan. Yeah. The first one. Yeah. Before he married.
Ari Gold's in the movie as John Cusack's best buddy.
I didn't know Brady had a kid before.
Yeah, Bridget Moynihan before he got with Giselle. Yeah, because she wasn't pregnant all that long before they parted. But whatever, that's another story for another day. We'll move right along. Either way, serendipitous.
Me and Whit had a brain transplant. He can't remember any words now.
Seriously, I'm struggling.
I can't even remember anything.
Bob McKenzie was on NBC earlier this week. He brought up the idea of the draft being pushed back a year because of the pandemic. Teams aren't playing, guys aren't developing, kids ain't playing. He did say a couple of GMs brought it up. They're pushing for it because, again, potential draftees not getting the work in, but the Players Association would have to sign off on it because the draft is a collectively bargained thing, as we all know. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll keep our eyes on it. Either way, that's out there. Sad news out of Brampton Beast of the East Coast Hockey League folded operations, citing the effects of COVID. Biz, you must have played there during your coach days, no?
Yeah, like -2 every time, 400 people in the arena. Stan Butler, no sideburns, just sending out his top line to eat me up. Yeah, I remember it.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry that they lost their team. Hey, speaking of folding, Daft Punk broke up today.
How long have they been together?
A long time, man.
Yeah.
That's sad because I was hoping for one more album after. What was their last one? Something about memories. See, now I'm looking for the words. You guys are rubbing off on me.
No, that's just you rubbing off on yourself by rubbing your brain.
It was Random Access Memories. What an album. The one with the Pharrell tune. What was there was get doing it right, doing it right.
I like that song. I like that song along.
That album.
I like that song along. I can't even say a lot.
All right. Well,
holy shit! How long have we been going?
We're going on a long time.
Yeah, we're almost done. Those are the guys who look like Battlestar Galactica, right? Biz, like the robot fucking uniforms.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not a big fan.
Yeah, I'm fucking old. Mike Babcock, he's going to be back with a coaching role at the University of Saskatchewan. He was helping out the University of Vermont before. He's not taking a paycheck here. He's still unemployed, but he's still getting those fat checks from the
he
MLSE.
makes like 80 a year, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's got some nice cabbage coming in, and yeah, he's probably just fucking getting paid, poking around, help out some kids. So good.
I would think he wants to coach again in the NHL, and maybe I'm crazy for thinking that probably couldn't happen without something like this. Just a little bit of like a rehab venture. Maybe he doesn't want to coach in the NHL again, but this is a start where, all right, I'm getting back in there. I'm going to get guys that are saying not horrific things about me as my former players were, and maybe I can get back to the National Hockey League and in the meantime make my $56 million.
Next thing, 1 weekend, he's like hooking guys up to lie detector tests and shit.
I mean, yeah, it's what he's been accused of or talked about. It's nothing insurmountable. I mean, you know, I think he might have to just adjust his game.
He's a hard-nosed coach that guys hated, and he
mental warfare.
Took it over the line probably a few too many times. But I would be very surprised if he doesn't coach again in the NHL. But this being the first step makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commodore hates him still.
I think he's got to apologize to Franson before if he wants to get a job. Just go fucking apologize. Face to face. Give him a phone call.
Yeah. Saturday night on Twitter. Gotta love Brad Marchand. I had tweeted the gif of him walking by Rask, kind of like making the face during Rask presser. You know, didn't think nothing of it. And then, you know, some clown who I had previously muted, a Leafs fan, basically was like, oh, Bergeron needs to retire. He butchers his name. And Marchand, God bless him, like mixing up with absolute Twitter trolls, tells the guy, shut the STFU, bud. And it's like, you got to love the loyalty because he's a fucking pro athlete taking Twitter troll bait, but it's all to defend Patrice Bergeron. Like, I think he would go to the ends of the earth.
What did he comment back? He's like, yeah, I got a lot of commas. Or something. Was that yesterday?
It was. Well, he might have dragged it to Sunday, but then like people were like sending memes to Marchand. Then he was retweeting the memes like, "This is me tweeting from under your skin," and it was like a picture of him with a keyboard and shit. Like, he was probably having a couple of glasses of vino out in Tahoe, having some fun with it. I'm thinking.
That's how they keep themselves occupied inside their own little bubble.
Just goes to show, man. Fucking even the pro athletes get sucked into stupid fucking Twitter trolls too. But what's funny, Biz, is if you mute an account, like you don't hear them unless someone else tags, like replies to them, and then it gets pulled up into your feed. And it'll say, "This is from an account you've muted." So I wouldn't even have seen it if Marchand hadn't replied to him. Then my feed was a sewer for the rest of the fucking weekend, bud. Actually, a couple of us guys appeared on a few other Barstool Network shows. We want to let you know. Whitney was on Pardon My Take. That dropped, today? Monday, Whit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Always a big hit there. And I went on Twisted History with my boy Lodge. If you haven't listened to it, it's exactly what it says it is. He takes a history of something and goes a deep dive on it. And we did about 2 hours on ice hockey the other night.
On the game of ice hockey, not just the NHL.
Yeah, the history of the sport and how it came to, and obviously got into the NHL. And yeah, me and Lodge had a great time doing that. So check that stuff out if you want to hear us in another forum. And I don't know if you did any playing this weekend with the gambler, but imagine if Saturday you parlayed Buffalo, the Rangers, the Red Wings, the Kings, the Sharks, and the Predators, all underdogs. Handily won those games, all under
100 to win 40 grand.
Oh, would have been a monster one.
Oh my God. Well, before we wrap up, I played at the Gasparilla. I mentioned at the beginning. So I got down to Florida. Was it like February 2nd? I don't remember. Started playing horrible, Biz. So mad, like getting so pissed off. Like,
yeah, you were
this
cranky
tournament
on the phone.
I'm just like, fuck, my game's shit. I was like, all of a sudden, it's just like the driver's awful, the putting's awful. Now, you haven't played in a while, and you come down to Florida. These courses are hard. There's wind. But I was still so down, and then finally did like some soul search and talked to some people, and it's just like, what am I doing with my mental like game in golf? It's like, what are you doing? You're putting all this emphasis on like, you have to play good. You have to play good. You're wearing if you're going to play bad. It's all such useless, wasted energy. So I drive to this tournament, and I shot 74 at Die one day. I shot 76 at Trump Jupiter, and then I had a couple 84s. I had an 86. Where was that? Just playing awful golf. And so I'm driving to this tournament in Tampa. It's like 3 hours, and I'm doing the soul search, and I'm thinking like, man, you can't keep like putting so much emphasis. Like, you started playing golf because it's fun. Like, you cannot worry about like every round and having bad swings. It's like you talk to people who have played golf their whole life, which I haven't. You learn like, dude, some days you just don't have it. There's PGA Tour guys who show up to the range, just don't have the same feel. It's a weird game. We talk about being mental. So I get to the tournament. I show up. I'm late for the practice round. I literally show up. My group from the practice round had already teed off one because there's groups all day. So they're on like the green. I'm like, the group's waiting to tee off. I'm like, can I just hit the ball so I get like this hole in? Birdie, birdie, birdie. Birdie 1, 2, and 3 in the practice round. I'm like, oh my God. And I just had a total different attitude. I was like, I was going into the ball still not knowing where it's going, but I was like, I don't care. I don't care not being the right word. I was more like, doesn't matter, man. Yeah, I could hit this thing off the planet or I could hit it nice. So that practice round, I got some nice feels, totally just having a good time, taking it all in, like not worrying about the outcome, not worrying about the scores, just enjoying what I was doing. Had a good practice round, tee off in the first round the next day, shoot 71. I think I had 4 bogeys and 1 birdie. It was a par, 4 bogeys and 3 birdies. It was a par 70 in great shape, right? And I was like, this is great. Like, and I wasn't even hitting it good. My misses off the tee, I probably hit 2 good drives, like in the center of the fairway, but the misses were like rough or right side of the fairway where I had shots. And then when I didn't hit the green, I was getting up and down and I wasn't worried. I wasn't grinding so hard. So it was really nice. I just enjoyed it. Even though I didn't hit good, I scored well. And that also proved like you don't always have to hit it nice to score. So then I wanted to make the cut last year in this tournament. This is a top like mid-amateur tournament in the country, probably like a top 5-8 event that they have for, I've always said mid-amateurs are over the age of 25. So to make the cut would have been a big deal. Last year I was like 80, 79, didn't even sniff the cut, might've missed it by 10. Well, I go to the second round. I was in the morning wave on Thursday. The second round Friday, I'm in the afternoon wave. Weather's horrific. It's raining. Probably rained like 8 or 9 holes. Not a real heavy rain for the most part, but just like cold rain and a lot of wind. I bogey the first hole on an awful chip. I missed the green. I chunked the chip. I then get up and down bogey. And then I go on like a nice little run. I made a couple other bogeys where I was 3 over through my first like 6 holes, I think. I started on 11 or 12. I get to 18 par 5. I hit it just long in 2. There's about 50 people out there. This tournament's great. The members come out and watch. They set up chairs. There's beers. Palmacia Golf and Country Club does the classiest thing in the world with the Gasparilla event. It is the sickest tournament. So everyone's out there, chip it in for Eagle. I'm like, y'all, place is going nuts. Atta boy, Whitney! Fucking tipping my cap. I got my picture on the scoreboard. They got scoreboards with your picture. It's a sick event.
That's awesome.
So I grind through the round, and I'm through 32 holes. It's a 36-hole cut. Through 32 holes, I am 3 over. So I'm 2 over for the day. I'm playing nice. It's shitty weather. I'm like, when I'm not hitting greens, I'm getting up and down. I'm just grinding it out. And I get to 7, which is my 15th hole of the second round, and I pull a drive left. And, this is the other thing. I decided not to check the scoreboard. I was talking to my buddy the night before, kid Matt Parzielli. I've brought him up, U.S. Mid-Am champion, played the Masters, 2 U.S. Opens. Great guy, great player. And he was like, I never look at scoreboard. He's like, I don't want to know. It's like, I'm doing what I'm going to do no matter what, which I had an argument with him about, like, if you have to make birdie, like, you should know, blah, blah, blah.
Be more aggressive, yeah.
Yes, but he said, like, dude, I don't know. I just don't look. So I was like, I'm not going to look all day. I also knew, being at 3 over with 4 holes to go, that I was fine. I was like, I'm inside the cut line for sure. The weather was awful. I pull a drive left on 7. I have like 185, but I'm blocked out. But like the wind's right to left. So I'd have to hit it like right of the green. If it doesn't draw or take the wind, it's probably in a greenside bunker. It was a very doable, makeable shot. I pull this like 6-iron a little bit too much and it hits a tree that's overhanging. I had to get it out to the right. Stupid mistake. It hits the tree drops directly like down and like backwards into this bunker. So now I'm like 105 yards, so much wind, hard bunker shot. These greens are grainy. Donald Ross, they roll off, they fall down. And I hit it up just short. I actually hit a decent shot just short. And I chip it up to like 5 feet and I missed the putt double. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, whatever. I still didn't check the score. I'm like, dude, you were going to make a double throughout. I knew I was going to make a double in the tournament. So I get to 8, my 33rd hole. Yes. I hit it in the greenside bunker. I make a really nice up and down. No worries. I get to 9. I got 2 holes remaining. I push a drive right? It was a bad drive. It was pushed into the tree line. I was like 190 short of the green. I had a window. Same thing where I had to hit right of the green on 7 and draw it in. This time I had room. I had a look at the left part of the green, which is really defended or has a bunker there. I was like, if I hit it there, it's fine in the bunker. If it cuts, like it should cut right, left to right, it could be on the green or the front of the green, get up and down. Well, it doesn't cut and it goes into this bunker. Now I'm back in front of the clubhouse. There's not a ton of people watching. It's in this bunker. It's no problem bunker shot. I fucking blade this goddamn bunker shot, dude. I blade this bunker shot. It goes over the green. I'm like, are you kidding me? But I was not the same as I would have been before the drive to Tampa. I was just like, oh, come on, dude, get this up and down. Like, make bogey. Like, come on. Well, I chip it. I don't hit a grit chip. I was like long. It was a hard shot. I had like 10 feet. I missed it. Double. So now I'm double 2 of my last 3 holes. And I got to see the scores. I pull up the scoreboard. The cut's +6. I'm sitting at +7. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Double.
So the 10th hole, which is my 36th hole, is this like short dog leg right with this vicious green. And I'm like, all right, I got to make birdie. At least I know now. I'm glad I looked. Got to make birdie. Hit a 4-iron, middle of the fairway. I got like 115 yards in. And the wind's howling. It's raining. And I hit it like 20 feet short, maybe 25 feet, like makeable, but you wanted to stuff it. And I just missed the putt and I missed the cut. So a disappointing, I was very disappointed at the time. I had a good attitude. I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. I doubled 2 of my last 4 to fucking miss the cut by 1. There's no worse feeling. Like now I'm new to competitive golf 3 years in. Like missing the cut by 1 is awful. It's a shitty feeling. There's so many shots you can go back and make up. But I then looked at it as, you know what? I missed the cut by 10 last year. I only missed the cut by 1 this year, so it's improvement. But my competitive nature was so fucking rattled. And not to mention, this was on my
fucking rattled.
This was on my birthday.
I'm rattled.
So happy birthday to yourself, Ryan. But I want to thank Paul Messia.
I'm gonna go do donuts on those greens when I get there.
Oh, the bunkers were perfect too.
I'm gonna take a shit.
I had 60. It was
I'm gonna take a shit
shot.
in that bunker.
No, don't do it, man. Don't do it. I love Paul Messia. I had a 60 degree, but it was a long bunker shot, and I grabbed my 55, and I was like, "No, I'll just use the 55." And I hadn't hit a 55 out of a bunker all tournament, 2 rounds, whatever, not all tournament. Sounds ridiculous.
That sucks, buddy.
So disappointing end, but I'm on the bright path. 71-76. At least the game's feeling better. The mental attitude's going to be better, but if
that happens in a sandbagger, I'm going to take your head off.
Yeah, I know. So speaking of sandbaggers, Thursday night, we're coming at you live. I think everyone's going to really enjoy Donor, Nasher, Biz, and myself. The chirps were flowing. The birdie juice was flowing. And I think we might be able to maybe get to 10K concurrent again. I know it was Yans and Hazy last time, but if we can get 10K watching live again, we're really growing something with the Sandbagger Invitational. So we appreciate you checking that out and listening as always, and listening to me basically talk to myself and be like a psychiatrist for myself in talking about golf. So have a great one, everyone. We love you.
I got just one last note. I want to send best wishes out to a great local kid, Anatoly Berezuk. He's a soccer player at BC High. He was just diagnosed with brain cancer. He's going through a medical situation. So I have a GoFundMe I'm going to tweet out from my account. Just want to send best wishes. Great local kid. He's from Quincy. So Anatoly, we're pulling for you here at Chiclets. Get well, buddy, and hopefully we'll see you soon back out in the pitch.
Yep, we're thinking about you. Good job, all right.
Thank you. Thanks,
Great
guys.
work, boys.
All right, boys. See you. Peace.
We'll see you.